Chapter 770. After Du Jing entered the ancient land of inheritance, Heli and Wuzi led the group and set off on their journey again. In this core area, there were a total of 1,000 ancient inheritances. Even though Heli and Wuzi was familiar with the situation, she still had to race against time. Otherwise, others might beat her to it. As for Qin Hao, who had not received any news for half a year, the only thing they could do was wait. Perhaps, only when the inheritance of this holy land was completely obtained and the door of time and space opened would they be able to meet again. They firmly believed that Qin Hao would not have any problems. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, the 1-year deadline was about to arrive. The last day. My fate. Will I be destroyed in the end? Hu Mainyang's divine sense stared at Qin Hao, who was standing in the space of her mind like a sculpture. 2 months ago, Qin Hao had experienced every realm of the 7 emotions and 6 desires. However, Qin Hao did not move at all. Even his divine sense did not fluctuate. It was as if he had fallen into absolute silence and his consciousness had stopped. Even now, there were still no signs of him waking up. The light shining from the 13 white jade steels had weakened to a very, very weak point. When the light disappeared, it meant that Qin Hao had failed. This was the time limit for any cultivator to comprehend the white jade steels. 1 year. If the time limit was not met, it meant that one did not have the qualifications to cultivate the Red Dust Heart Sutra. Qin Hao failed, it meant that Hu Mainyang had failed. Moreover, there would be no chance for her to succeed again. And now, the time limit was about to expire. Hiss! The 13 white jade steels finally retracted their last ray of light and turned gray. Huff! It was also at this time that Qin Hao slowly opened his eyes. He frowned and looked at Hu Mainyang. Go! Go! Qin Hao was puzzled. The soul symbiotic contract will be lifted soon and you will be free. You are the person with the greatest talent I have ever seen. If you don't die, then in the future within vast universe galaxy you should be able to bloom with an extremely dazzling light and become a true peak character. Hu Mainyang slowly stood up. She didn't look at Qin Hao, but rather at the endless void as she muttered to herself. Her figure was still that graceful and exquisite figure. However, at this moment, she no longer possessed that high and mighty brilliance that was the moon surrounded by the stars. Instead, she was filled with desolation, loneliness, and lethargy. Unfortunately, you still didn't succeed. Then I'll take my leave. Qin Hao looked at Hu Mainyang's silhouette. After a slight hesitation, he cupped his fists and said. After he finished speaking, he stood up and walked away. Haha. Hu Mainyang suddenly laughed. Do you hate me that much? Don't you want to know why I did it? A hateful person is bound to have a pitiful side. Sorry, I really don't know anything about sex. Qin Hao stopped in his tracks and said without turning his head. A hateful person is bound to have a pitiful side. You don't want to know anything about me because you don't want to change your impression of me. If you could, you would still kill me without hesitation, right? You can think whatever you want, Qin Hao said. Then I want you to know. Buzz. Rumble. As they spoke, the soul symbiotic contract between the two of them reached the time limit and collapsed in their minds. At this moment, Hu Mainyang pointed a finger at Qin Hao and thousands of Tao laws instantly bound him. What are you doing? Qin Hao said angrily. He had the opportunity to perish together with Hu Mainyang when the soul symbiotic contract was signed. However, Qin Hao was not an idiot. As Hu Mainyang had said, there were too many people he couldn't let go of. Hu Mainyang had calculated this and was not afraid at all. In fact, when Qin Hao escaped from the Red Dust Heart Sutra, he was already prepared. However, he did not expect Hu Mainyang, who thought he had failed, to let him go. This was beyond his expectations. However, what surprised him even more was that he had only said a few manly words and this woman actually went back on her words. Whoosh! Hu Mainyang did not say anything. However, she did something that made Qin Hao's eyes widen. She gently removed her Taoist robe and let it slide down. Under the pink bra, her twin peaks were towering. Her slender waist could be held with one hand. Her perky buttocks, which had been kicked by Qin Hao before, were plump and perky under the bra. Her skin was like congealed cream, smooth and delicate. Her two slender and well-proportioned jade legs were even more alluring. Buzz. At this moment, her beautiful face was as delicate as a peach blossom. Her crimson face carried the shyness of a young girl. Her eyes made the world darken as she looked straight at Chen Hao. This caused Chen Hao's mind to tremble. It was obvious that Hu Mainyang had pushed the Red Dust Heart Sutra to the extreme. In the past, Hu Mainyang could make countless geniuses prostrate themselves in worship, subdued by her peerless demeanor. But now, Hu Mainyang could absolutely make any man go crazy. Just by taking off her Taoist robe, her power was completely different. Are you really going to use force on me? I, Chen Hao, swear that I won't do it. Chen Hao's bewildered eyes suddenly regained a trace of clarity as Hu Mainyang approached him with light steps. Then he shouted angrily. You can still stay awake? Hu Mainyang was slightly surprised. Her face became even redder. This blush was definitely not something that the Red Dust Heart Sutra could fake. However, even though Chen Hao was familiar with the Red Dust Heart Sutra, he could not tell and would not tell. You're an entire realm apart. Your willpower is so strong. I don't believe, hiss. Hu Mainyang's figure flashed and directly appeared in front of Chen Hao. Wearing only her underwear, she looked straight at Chen Hao. She was getting closer and closer. Standing on her tiptoes, the tip of her nose was almost touching Chen Hao's nose. Her delicate lips were also about to touch. At this moment, Chen Hao's senses were uncontrollably sharp to the extreme. An alluring fragrance madly attacked his nostrils. Hu Mainyang stretched out her jade-like, soft and boneless hand and directly unbuttoned Chen Hao's Taoist robe. Hu Mainyang's hair touched Chen Hao's face. Her slightly disordered breathing and heartbeat ravaged Chen Hao's every nerve. Coupled with the effect of the Red Dust Heart Sutra, Chen Hao fell into absolute torment. Bitch, do you still know what shame is? You can have my body, but you can't have my heart, Chen Hao said gloomily. He even had the urge to vomit blood. Damn, this scene should be reversed. But he was a man, and he was actually being molested by a woman without any room to resist. You can't have my body, and you can't have my heart, Hu Mainyang whispered into Chen Hao's ear. However, this was the first time she had done so, so the fragrance that came out of her mouth was intermittent and trembling. Bitch, stop, I've already… Just as Chen Hao was about to lay his cards on the table, his eyes widened. Hu Mainyang suddenly sealed his mouth with her delicate lips. At the same time, a stream of energy also directly imprisoned Chen Hao's mouth. Chapter 771. Boom. When Hu Mainyang's Red Dust Heart Sutra made direct contact with his body, Chen Hao felt as though his mind was about to explode. Flames of lust rose within him, but his mind remained clear-headed. Chen Hao was certain that if he had not experienced the Red Dust Heart Sutra for a year, perhaps he would have already fallen for her. However, his current state was even more painful than falling for her. He was not Lu Xiaohui, a hot-blooded young man. How could he not have a reaction? However, as a man, being forced by a woman was something that Chen Hao could not accept no matter what. This was absolutely a disgrace, a disgrace. If people knew that he, Chen Hao, had been forced to be molested, where would he put his face and dignity? However, there was nothing he could do now. He could not even bite Hu Mainyang because this woman had used her powerful cultivation at the intermediate heavenly celestial stage to completely imprison him and completely cut off his control over his body. Damn it, it seems like this woman is really going to rape me. If anything, it should be me raping her. Feeling Hu Mainyang's proud twin peaks pressing against his chest, feeling the obvious trembling and inexperienced, forceful kiss, Chen Hao had no choice but to admit it. Since he couldn't resist, he might as well close his eyes and enjoy it. But there's still one last way. Having lost control of his body, Chen Hao, who had originally planned to lay his cards on the table, did not dare to hesitate anymore. This woman was a lunatic who did not play by the rules at all. Every time Chen Hao miscalculated, she would miscalculate. In a year's time, Chen Hao had actually comprehended the first layer of the Red Dust Heart Sutra. But until the end he didn't reveal it. It was just to make Hu Mainyang despair. After all, Hu Mainyang's words had already revealed that if he couldn't succeed, she would be finished. Chen Hao was forced to do so, so naturally he would not let her be too happy. However, he did not expect that the vicious Hu Mainyang would let him go after he failed. However, when he was about to leave, Hu Mainyang's attitude changed because of him. Chen Hao immediately focused his mind and integrated it into his soul abode. At the same time, he activated the first level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra. He believed that since Hu Mainyang had used her cultivation at the middle stage of Heaven Celestial to control and imprison his body, she would naturally be able to sense the fluctuation of his soul. As long as she could sense that he had comprehended the Red Dust Heart Sutra, then she might be able to stop her current actions. Sure enough, when Chen Hao's soul released the faint aura of the first stage of the Red Dust Heart Sutra, Hu Mainyang, who had been conflicted but had hardened her heart, suddenly trembled and her eyes blossomed with 2 rays of crystal light. Then, Hu Mainyang abruptly retreated 2 meters. Looking at Chen Hao in surprise, she said, "You've comprehended the first level of the Secular World Sutra?" Surprise my ass. So what if you've comprehended it? Chen Hao instantly regained half of his freedom and was able to speak, but he was still angry. Why didn't you say so earlier? You shut my mouth. What do you want me to say? Hu Mainyang's face was flushed red. She suddenly put on her Taoist robe. At the same time, she used her magical power to put on Chen Hao's Taoist robe and said, "Don't be so arrogant. It's still very easy for me to kill you now. If you don't want to die, then according to our agreement, we'll proceed to the second step." Chen Hao wanted to say something, but this time he controlled his mouth and said, "Say it. Start dual cultivation with me and break through the 9th level of the Secular World Sutra. I'm now at the 9th level. With me dual cultivation with you, you'll be able to cultivate to the 9th level in a few years. Once you break through to the 10th level, you'll have succeeded in the second step. This is a good thing for you. Although I really don't want to understand you, now I want to know what you're going to do. I'm sorry, when I wanted to say it, you didn't want to listen. Now, since you've comprehended the Secular World Sutra, there's no need for me to tell you. A hateful person must have a pitiful side. I don't need your pity. Bitch, don't call me bitch again. Otherwise, I'll kill you immediately. I mean what I say. I can only tell you that what happened just now was the first time in my life. Although I forced you, I'm not harming you. At most, I can't let her continue to be Hu Mainyang, or let others become Hu Mainyang again. It's a good thing for you. It's up to you to believe it or not. Hu Mainyang's face was like a peach blossom, but she looked straight at Chen Hao and said calmly, "We need to sign a new soul contract, this time. 1,000 years. 1,500 years? You don't need 10,000 years? If you're in danger, do you think I'll have to save you? 1,500 years is about the length of time in the primitive mystic realm. Once we step out of the primitive mystic realm, we'll be able to get rid of it immediately. 10,000 years seems safer. Stop dreaming. 10 years, 20,000 years, 20 years, 30,000 years. Fuck. 1,500 years it is. When the time comes, you're welcome to kill me. Of course, I'll rape you before killing you." Chen Hao was fuming as he stared at Hu Mainyang. However, Hu Mainyang's face was already red, and she didn't say anything. She directly took out the soul imprint, which made Chen Hao feel like he was punching empty air. "I hope you can help me reach the 10th level. If you can't, I won't let you die with me, but I'll do what I just did. Although it's a good thing for you, it'll be the shame of your life, right?" By a woman. After the soul contract was completed, Hu Mainyang looked at the furious Chen Hao and reminded him. Such a state was not suitable for dual cultivation. "If you won't have the chance. Let's begin. That's what I want to see the most." Papa. Their palms met again. Chen Hao, who had no choice, instantly threw away all distracting thoughts and entered an ethereal state. Their eyes looked straight at each other, and their souls were connected. "If you're a man, don't peek at my memories. I have my pride and my perseverance. This time, your soul must be integrated into the Red Dust Heart Sutra without any distractions. You must adapt to my rhythm and be guided by me. Don't talk about men and women. At most, we're the same. If you dare to look at me, I won't let you go. Then let's begin. I'll follow you first and see how you've comprehended it. Then you can follow me. The two of them spoke through telepathy. After speaking, they activated the first level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra at the same time. The reason why it was said to be similar was because each of them had their own comprehension. There was no complete mental cultivation method, and it differed from person to person. In an instant, Chen Hao was integrated into the 7 emotions and 6 desires. Hu Meinyang, who needed to observe Chen Hao's comprehension, was integrated into Chen Hao's mind. Chapter 772. Rage. Kill. Boom. Chen Hao, who had been suppressing his anger, directly entered the rage state. His powerful soul force, under Chen Hao's urging, suddenly released a mysterious fluctuation, causing Hu Meinyang to instantly enter a state of uncontrollable rage along with Chen Hao's mood. If Hu Meinyang and Chen Hao's souls weren't connected, and if she didn't merge into Chen Hao's mind, she would only follow Chen Hao's rage and be infected with a trace of rage. But now, she had merged into the specially created illusion by Chen Hao. What made Hu Meinyang frown was that in the illusion, she also appeared. The boundless rage of Chen Hao crazily chased and killed. You only know how to be satisfied here. Hu Meinyang's soul force fluctuated as she transmitted her voice. After a round of killing, Chen Hao cut off Hu Meinyang's head with a sword and stomped it with his foot. He laughed heartily in his mind, ignoring Hu Meinyang's ridicule, and directly entered the pleasure state. This time, Hu Meinyang frowned as she watched. Her breasts were heaving up and down. Obviously, it was beyond her tolerance. She had long been aware of Chen Hao's killing intent and hatred towards her, but she didn't expect it to be to such an extent. In the pleasure state, she was also, but she was casually trampled on by Chen Hao. Punches and kicks, insults and ridicule, and so on. Even if she knew that Chen Hao was venting, Hu Meinyang was still a little angry, but she still endured it. When Chen Hao entered the lust state, Hu Meinyang was finally fuming with anger and jumped out of Chen Hao's soul. Otherwise, she was afraid that she really couldn't help but attack Chen Hao. Bastard! Shameless! Hu Meinyang's face flushed red. Her soul-piercing eyes stared fiercely at Chen Hao, angrily cursing in her heart. In the lust state, Chen Hao made her crawl at his feet and did all kinds of obscene actions. She was a slut? Why can't you bear it? You're at the 9th level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra. At this time, Chen Hao's provocative voice sounded in her soul force. Hu Meinyang was suddenly startled. I've been influenced by you so much? This is just an illusion, I'm forcefully condensing it. If it's an illusion from the heart, I'm afraid you'll get lost, right? Chen Hao said, don't waste time. You have to come in order to fully grasp my comprehension. So be it. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Hu Meinyang said, wait for me to guide you, you'll suffer. I'm looking forward to it. Chen Hao said disdainfully. Finally, he felt a little elated. Even though it was just a fantasy, it was still a relief to be able to make this woman so angry. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. At this moment, the two people who were sitting cross-legged with their palms touching each other exuded a mysterious aura. Under the influence of Hu Meinyang, even Chen Hao's body was surrounded by endless rules of the Great Path. Moreover, it formed a world of its own, independent of Hu Meinyang. Although it was far inferior to Hu Meinyang's, it was still extremely shocking for Chen Hao, who did not have an innate Taoist embryo. The two of them looked at each other with their soul-piercing eyes. There was no sadness or joy in their eyes, they were ethereal and detached. They had temporarily put down the hatred in their hearts and were completely immersed in the mystery of the Red Dust Heart Sutra. 5 years. 10 years. 20 years, time flowed like water. The two of them had no concept of time and were detached from the mortal world. At times, Hu Meinyang would guide and at times, Chen Hao would take the initiative. Every time Chen Hao broke through a level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra, Hu Meinyang would take the lead and guide. Every time their understanding was completely controlled by each other and truly integrated, Hu Mainyang would dominate Chen Hao to break through to the next level. Over the past 20 years, Hu Mainyang's confidence had grown. Chen Hao's talent and perception had shocked her more and more. Although she had been helping Chen Hao make breakthroughs in his cultivation, she had been able to gain unexpected benefits from Chen Hao's unique comprehension of each level. She was certain that once she stepped into the 7th level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra, as long as she used the 7th level, she would be stronger than the 9th level. And now, they had both stepped into the 9th level. Perfect! Chen Hao, my highest level is the 9th level. To break through to the 10th level, we have to fully comprehend it. This is also the most crucial step. After stepping into the 10th level, you have to do something for me and fulfill our agreement. At that time, you can leave. Speak. Chen Hao said directly. Although Chen Hao didn't want to admit it, during the 20 years of dual cultivation, apart from the illusions that Hu Mainyang had deliberately created to take revenge on him, he also discovered that Hu Mainyang wasn't the venomous woman that he had imagined her to be. Although all kinds of illusions could confuse and infect all living things, they were always neutral and peaceful, full of overwhelming righteousness. This was the most fundamental thing of a person, and it was definitely not something that an evil person could condense. In addition, Chen Hao had long guessed that Hu Mainyang might be under the control of the Red Dust Heart Sutra, and gradually he did not hate this woman as much. Of course, it was just that he did not hate her that much. You and I may be in danger, Hu Mainyang said after a slight pause. Do I have a choice? Chen Hao said disdainfully. Yes, you can choose not to help me. And then perish with me? Stop being a hypocrite and speak. Is it fun to speak against your conscience? After 20 years, don't you know what kind of person I, Hu Mainyang, am? No matter who you are, I can say this for everything you did to me. What did I do to you? The Tao Manifestation Immortal Fruit Core is a treasure of heaven and earth. It is especially important to me. Why can't I take it? If I couldn't, I would have run away. You could have hit me anywhere, but you just had to kick me there. After that, I came to find you. When did I really kill you? What are you talking about? Other than the last time, when did you have the ability to kill me? You have also cultivated the Red Dust Heart Sutra to the 9th level. Let alone the 9th level, even if it was the 7th level, if I really wanted to do anything, do you think you could escape? I dare not say that I can mesmerize everyone in the world, but I have the ability to make all the cultivators here lose themselves and become my men of sacrifice. That's because you have scruples about your identity. You still have to maintain the image of a saintess. Saintess my ass. Hu Mainyang suddenly swore like Chen Hao. What image does a saintess who is almost destined to lose herself talk about? You said that you wanted to rape me, right? I'm a man. Do you know how humiliating that is? That's because you don't even want to hear the complaints of a dying man before he dies. Even if I die, I have to leave behind the secrets that I know. Since you want to do that, I can only wrong myself and fulfill your wish. Chapter 773. At this moment, Hu Mainyang's eyes sparkled as if she was too emotional. However, she quickly regained her composure and looked directly at Chen Hao. You said so much. Could it be that you've forgiven me? Forgive my ass. Haha, damn it, why are you laughing? I like to laugh. What does that have to do with you? Hu Mainyang cursed as well, not caring that her words were damaging her image. Speak. Chen Hao glared at the woman. He was speechless. You should have seen the runes shining on my body when we went through the heavenly punishment, right? Hu Mainyang cut to the chase. I saw it. Using your body as a cauldron. Only you could do that. Shouldn't the best way for you be to refine me and the Tao Manifestation Immortal Fruit into your body? At that time, you wanted to be strong. Forget it, you can continue. Chen Hao thought of his conjecture and said. However, he stopped halfway. Since Hu Mainyang had mentioned the rune, perhaps it was what she meant when she said that she was no longer the root of her existence. Before the rune appeared on my body, I only had one goal, and that was to snatch the Tao Manifestation Immortal Fruit from you. Only the Tao Manifestation Immortal Fruit could help me escape my fate. However, it appeared when I resisted the heavenly punishment. At that time, I realized that even if I obtained the Tao Manifestation Immortal Fruit, it would only be a gift to someone else. Instead, I would end up in an irreversible situation. So, I changed my mind. Your talent is the strongest I've ever seen, and you also have the Tao Manifestation Immortal Fruit. This could be my only chance at survival. However, between us, I can only force you. Get to the point, Chen Hao said impatiently. That rune is the devil fetus in the 13 white jade crystal tablets. Devil fetus? What devil fetus? An existence that wants to devour your soul and take over your body? You should know that no cultivator can truly live forever. Possession and reincarnation are two ways of living, but they are not limitless. At a certain point, you will eventually walk towards death. However, when the founder of the Misty Rain Tower was about to die, he sealed his evil thoughts on the 13 white jade tablets of the Red Dust Sutra as a training object for his disciples. But the founder didn't expect that no disciple in the Misty Rain Tower could cultivate the Red Dust Sutra. Therefore, after the evil thoughts were born, no one killed them. Gradually, it gave birth to its own intelligence. Until the Holy Virgin of the previous generation of the Misty Rain Tower with the innate Taoist embryo appeared, she should have discovered this secret. Unfortunately, she died unexpectedly because of emotional problems. She didn't leave behind any words. So, I wasn't prepared for it. When I reached the peak of the late stage of the Earth's celestial stage, it suddenly wanted to possess me, and I discovered it. Fortunately, it was too impatient and exposed itself before it matured. But even if I wanted to kill it, I couldn't do it. Its cultivation level is higher than mine. So, you thought of dual cultivation and borrowed my strength? Previously, in the Holy Temple and the vast universe galaxy, I made friends with the top geniuses of the vast universe galaxy in order to find someone who could help me. Unfortunately, none of them caught my eye. Hiske, do you want to find someone to help you or a cultivation partner? Previously, when I asked for help, I asked my guardian for help. The Holy Virgin of the Misty Rain Tower doesn't have a cultivation partner. Of course, I want to find someone who can help me. Oh? Do you mean you want to find me? You are not qualified. I suppressed it with my strength and you just wanted to live. Fuck. Although I forced you, it didn't harm you. What we are going to do next, although it is dangerous, it will also benefit you a lot. Moreover, I will compensate you. Hu Mainyang said, what we are going to do next is to work together to comprehend the 10th level of the Red Dust Sutra. During this period, we must break the seal formed by the devil fetus before we can comprehend it. After we succeed, we will seize the opportunity to break into the 13 white jade tablets and kill the devil fetus. If we succeed, I will teach you every level of the Red Dust Sutra that I comprehend. This is my compensation? Without you, I can still comprehend it, can I? It's just a matter of time. Chen Hao said. You are wrong. You have already comprehended the first level. Do you think you can comprehend the second level by yourself? Maybe you can. However, without the 13 pagoda tablets, it will be extremely difficult. Unless you experience the world of mortals and experience the 7 emotions and 6 desires, you will not be able to comprehend it without tens of thousands of years. Let's begin. Chen Hao did not say anything else. In an instant, the 13 pagoda tablets appeared in Hu Mainyang's mind again. This time, Chen Hao and Hu Mainyang's divine will manifested as one. They pushed the Red Dust Sutra to the limit and merged it with the Tao marks on the 13 white jade tablets. The seal left by the devil fetus blocks the 10th level of the Red Dust Sutra. The first thing we need to do is lock onto it. Hiss. The two of them were as one, shuttling back and forth in the white jade steel to capture any abnormalities. What surprised Chen Hao was that every time the two of them were about to lock onto it, a wisp of extremely cunning energy would suddenly escape, cutting off the flow of the 10th layer of the white jade steel. Follow the tracks and force it to the edge of the 11th level. It has no way to escape. It has only comprehended the 10th level. Hu Mainyang said in her mind, Little girl, you dare to join forces with outsiders to deceive your master? Do you really think the two of you can kill me? Suddenly, a voice that was pleasant to the ear like celestial music resounded out, and even Chen Hao felt his heart tremble when he heard it. My master has already passed away. You are just a devil fetus. How dare you call yourself my master? Hu Mainyang said coldly. You don't know what's good for you. Being the continuation of my life is the best ending for you. In the future, you will be able to look down on the world and be invincible. Since you want to die, don't blame me. The melodious voice rang out again. Suddenly, it continued, Little brother, my junior disciple wants to deceive his master. Why are you helping him? Moreover, he forced you and did not give you any benefits. If you join forces with me now, I can easily take over your body and be reborn. At that time, I will let you be my guardian. This body is the primordial yin body of the innate Taoist fetus. If you obtain it, you will definitely reap great benefits. Moreover, I have all kinds of divine powers and ultimate skills that can guarantee that you will become stronger. Chen Hao, don't be tempted by her. Sounds good. The conditions are very generous. Maybe I should think about it. Hu Mainyang was angered by Chen Hao's words. Chapter 774. Little brother, you're a wise man indeed. Remove the fusion with her now and help me succeed. Later, I'll give you my primordial yin. As long as you're willing, I can accompany you anytime. Shameless. Chen Hao, if you listen to it, you won't even know how you died. Don't forget that we have a symbiotic soul contract. Hu Mainyang said angrily when she sensed Chen Hao's mental fluctuations. Even she didn't expect the demon fetus to be so cunning. Little brother, don't be afraid. After I take over her body, her soul won't be destroyed. It won't affect you. Come on, let's get started. You'll be able to obtain the primordial yin of this connate Taoist fetus and satisfy all your desires. Come on, right away, I'll help you right away. Don't tempt me, your offer is very tempting. Chen Hao wasn't affected by the demon fetus' seductive voice. Hu Mainyang, do you have anything to say? Actually, you still have an advantage. No. If you want to do it, then do it. I, Hu Mainyang, can only give you that condition. Then don't blame me, Chi. Chen Hao thought that he could use this opportunity to blackmail the demon fetus, but Hu Mainyang, who was obviously nervous, refused to compromise. Moreover, she didn't put up any defenses and fused with Chen Hao from beginning to end. Therefore, as soon as Chen Hao finished speaking, Hu Mainyang pushed herself to the limit and fused with Chen Hao. Since the two of them were already one, Chen Hao only needed to use his mind for Hu Mainyang to know what Chen Hao's decision was. The dazzling sword light instantly blossomed with a terrifying destructive sword intent. It condensed the profound energy of 7 emotions and 6 desires from Hu Mainyang and Chen Hao's Red Dust Heart Sutra. With Chen Hao as the main character, it was a sword of destruction. You're courting death. Rumble. The devil fetus didn't expect that Chen Hao, who seemed to be on its side, would suddenly join forces with Hu Mainyang. Unable to restrain its anger, it immediately used the 10th level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra to condense a powerful ultimate skill and faced the two of them head-on. The Tao marks of the 13 white jade crystal steels were all under its control. Chen Hao, you're the main attacker. I'll stop it from controlling the steel. Hu Mainyang's attention was divided by more than half. In an instant, the devil fetus' terrifying attack was weakened by several times. Good. Old bitch, I'll let you be my stepping stone for the secular sword Tao. In a battle of pure soul and mind, Chen Hao wasn't shackled by his cultivation base. At this moment, he had completely integrated the 20 years he had spent cultivating the Red Dust Heart Sutra into his Red Dust Sword Tao. Destruction, deathless, slaughter, rivers and mountains, all kinds of sword lights crisscrossed, displaying unimaginable power under the essence of the solitary sword art. How is this possible? At this moment, both Hu Mainyang and the devil fetus were shocked. No one had expected Chen Hao to be so fierce. He had an overwhelming advantage. Hu Mainyang, let her control a little more of the white jade crystal steel's power. Otherwise, she won't even be qualified to be my stepping stone. Are you sure? Nonsense. Don't worry, I guarantee that she won't be able to cause any trouble, Chen Hao said. All right then, be careful. It's the manifestation of the patriarch's evil thoughts and is extremely cunning. It won't be that simple. It's easy to suppress it but difficult to kill it, Hu Mainyang said. That's for you. Do as I say, Chen Hao said arrogantly. Seeing how confident Chen Hao was, Hu Mainyang didn't hesitate anymore. Moreover, at this moment, it was indeed very difficult for her to compete with the devil fetus for the power of the 13 white jade crystal steels. Boom, boom. As Hu Mainyang relaxed, the devil fetus power suddenly increased and he fought Chen Hao. Red Dust Heart Sutra and Red Dust Sword Principle complement each other. If I were to apply the profundity of the soul healing technique to it, I would definitely be able to unleash an even greater power. This devil fetus is no doubt the best opponent. Chen Hao's battle intent rose wildly. The killing intent, anger, and depression that Hu Mainyang had suppressed for 20 years were all released. It was extremely terrifying. Whether it was the Red Dust Sword Principle or the Red Dust Heart Sutra, the source of power was the 7 emotions and 6 desires that were unique to humans. This power was extremely mysterious. There was no clear boundary between soul power, physical body, and true origin. Once it was activated, it could cause a huge increase in power. The stronger the emotion, the stronger the increase. Even in the secular world, there were occasionally people who could erupt with this power. There were many examples in the real world. A weak mother lifting a car that weighed several tons, rescuing her son from under the car, and so on. These were all extraordinary powers released by the 7 emotions and 6 desires. What Chen Hao wanted to do now was to use the soul power involved in the soul healing technique and combine it with the 7 emotions and 6 desires. Enter the mortal world, control the mortal world, and finally transcend it. In one thought, the 7 emotions and 6 desires were transformed. Damn it, it's so difficult to deal with. Chen Hao had the absolute advantage and bombarded the devil fetus countless times. However, this evil thought was invisible and formless. Although it was getting weaker and weaker, it could always reform. Let's see how long you can last. Chen Hao's attacks became fiercer. Hiss! While Chen Hao was fighting the devil fetus crazily, Hu Mainyang became more and more relaxed. Every time Chen Hao destroyed the devil fetus, Hu Mainyang's mind became stronger. At this moment, Hu Mainyang had completely given up the control of the 13 white jade crystal tablets with the devil fetus. She was completely immersed in devouring and refining the evil thought of the devil fetus that Chen Hao had destroyed. She was becoming stronger and stronger. Ah! The devil fetus screamed again, but it was reborn in an instant. Little brother, if you kill me, you will regret it. The Red Dust Heart Sutra has 13 levels. Deceiving people with your lies. You can die now. Hu Mainyang suddenly shouted coldly. The majestic and terrifying energy suddenly turned into an endless black vortex. In an instant, it sucked in the weakened devil fetus. What do you mean? Chen Hao was instantly enraged. I'm helping you, of course. Alright. Chen Hao, thank you very much. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to kill this devil fetus. Now, it only has less than 1/10 of its power left. I have temporarily suppressed it. However, to completely destroy it, I need your help to refine it. Hu Mainyang said in Chen Hao's mind. Hu Mainyang, don't you think you've crossed the line? You mean I've devoured its power? Nonsense. I've worked so hard to kill it, but you've devoured all its power. Can you be any more shameless? I want to use it to train myself. At the last moment, you're going to make a move? Are you afraid that it will confuse me? Or are you afraid that it will reveal your secret? Ha! Chen Hao, you think too much. We have a deal. If you help me kill it, I will teach you how much I understand in the future. I didn't say that I will share its power with you. Hu Mainyang said. Chapter 775. Besides, this belongs to me in the first place. You have to be clear about this. As for attacking now, that's because it's already very weak and won't be of much use to you. Moreover, no matter how many times you kill it, it will condense together and not much energy will be released. This is the mark of the devil fetus. Only by tempering your mind can you truly destroy it. Damn it, people like you change their faces faster than flipping a book. Refine it yourself. I won't accompany you, Chen Hao said angrily. Help me one last time. Otherwise, I won't be able to refine it in a short period of time. In the end, it might even turn the tables. At that time, I won't be the only one dying. You have to think carefully. Hu Mainyang threatened. Master, I've checked everything. This woman is not a good person. You've been played. Suddenly, Old God's voice sounded in Chen Hao's mind. In the past 20 years, Chen Hao's impression of Hu Mainyang had improved. However, this did not mean that Chen Hao was truly at ease. On the contrary, Hu Mainyang, who was completely unfathomable, made Chen Hao feel uneasy. Chen Hao had long wanted to check Hu Mainyang's memories, but Hu Mainyang was extremely cautious. At all times, she would leave a trace of her mind to protect Chen Hao's soul residence. The more Hu Mainyang acted like this, the more suspicious Chen Hao became. During the decisive battle with the devil fetus, Chen Hao finally seized the opportunity. Hu Mainyang, who had no other thoughts, temporarily merged all her mind into her own space to refine the energy of the devil fetus. Moreover, she probably thought that Chen Hao could not spare any energy, which was why she did this. In fact, Chen Hao could not spare any energy, but Old God took advantage of this opportunity to enter. What's going on? The devil fetus is indeed the manifestation of the founder's evil thoughts. It was also left behind by the founder to train his disciples. However, more importantly, it sealed the Heart Sutra after the 10th level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra. It's true that the devil fetus wanted to possess Hu Mainyang, but it couldn't. As long as Hu Mainyang continued to refine it, the devil fetus would never be able to truly mature. This is because its source of power comes from the 13 white jade crystal tablets. This is something that Hu Mainyang can control. Moreover, the founder left a handwritten message, predicting the possibility of the devil fetus being born from evil thoughts, and how to deal with it. Unable to explain it clearly, Old God shared the information he had found with Chen Hao. After that, Chen Hao clearly understood what was going on, and he forcefully restrained his killing intent. Okay, I'll help you one last time. Tell me, how do you want me to help you refine it? In Hu Mainyang's mind, Chen Hao, who had taken the form of his divine sense, seemed to be extremely depressed as he spoke. This devil fetus imprint is the manifestation of the evil thoughts of the founder of the Misty Rain Tower. It can be said that it's an immortal existence. If we want to completely erase it, we have to merge our soul palaces and combine our soul imprints to refine it. This time, we'll rely on our own abilities. Whoever can refine the most will get it. With the devil fetus imprint, our soul imprints will also receive amazing benefits. Not to mention the improvement of our cultivation talent, the unique skills and memories of the Misty Rain Tower's inheritance in it will be a great fortune. You mean, my soul must completely leave my body and enter your mind? That's right. But are you afraid? Nonsense. Do you think I'm an idiot? Once my soul enters your mind, you can do whatever you want to me. Are you still a man? Don't you know what I've been like for the past 20 years? If I want to kill you, I can do it just by raising my hand. Why go through so much trouble? Hu Mainyang said coldly. If it weren't for the mysterious existence of the Old God, who had quietly probed into Hu Mainyang's memories, Chen Hao would never have thought that Hu Mainyang was lying. Whether it was her expression, acting skills, or analysis based on common sense, Hu Mainyang was right. Even if she wanted to use Chen Hao to deal with the devil fetus, if she wanted to kill him, she wouldn't have signed a 1,500-year soul symbiosis contract. On the surface, she didn't seem to have any intention of harming Chen Hao. Damn it. Meeting a woman like you, this old man must have had 8 lifetimes of bad luck. Let's begin. Wait. Let's both recover to our peak condition first. You've consumed a lot of energy just now. You can't let your guard down. I also need to recover. Up to you. Qi. As Chen Hao spoke, his mind jumped out of Hu Mainyang's mind. Their minds were connected, but they were cut off at the same time. They slowly closed their eyes and immersed themselves in their own cultivation. Master, this woman's soul and willpower aren't any weaker than yours. She's 100 times more vicious and cunning than you. Do you really want to go in? Do I have a choice? If I don't go in with the soul symbiosis contract, although she won't dare to kill me, she can definitely control me. She can even seal me. When she grows to a certain level, she'll enter my mind directly. At that time, it'll be worse. So, although entering her mind now is a little passive, it's still better than that. That's true. Since it's unavoidable. Master, let me enter the core of your soul residence first. No need. Master, say no more. If I can't even deal with a woman, how can I reach the peak of martial arts? Only by killing her with my true strength can I be at ease. But Master, you have to be careful. This woman is full of tricks. She says she's resting now, but she's definitely preparing to deal with you. She knows how strong Master's soul and willpower are. I'm afraid she won't fight you head-on. Okay. This. Hu Mainyang's body was surrounded by laws and thousands of great Daos. In the depths of her soul residence, vast and pure energy revolved around the devil fetus and crazily devoured it. Her so-called resting to her peak state was nothing more than refining the devil fetus in advance. Against Chen Hao, due to her advantage in cultivation, she indeed had the complete initiative. However, against Chen Hao's soul and willpower, especially the sword Dao that Chen Hao had displayed when dealing with the devil fetus, she didn't dare to let her guard down. If she was confident in something, she had to maximize her chances and ensure that nothing would go wrong. After refining the devil fetus's imprint, I'll be stronger. Then, I'll condense a fake devil fetus and set it up as a trap. I'll fight him head-on while I attack from behind. No matter how strong his soul is, he'll be completely under my control. First, I'll take his soul residence and remove the soul symbiosis contract. Then, I'll be able to destroy him. The Dao manifestation, immortal fruit core and countless treasures will be mine. I'll also be able to obtain his memories. Then, I'll refine his entire body into mine. I'm really looking forward to how strong I'll be at that time. This kid must have some doubts, but I don't have any flaws. Even if he did, he wouldn't have a choice. Chapter 776. Still not done. For hours later, Chen Hao asked impatiently, "Don't worry, I might be able to comprehend the 10th tier. Wait for me and don't disturb me. I'll call you when I'm done." Hu Mainyang said. Refining the devil fetus was not something that could be done in a short period of time. Hu Mainyang had already thought of a reason. After receiving Hu Mainyang's reply, Chen Hao guessed what Hu Mainyang wanted to do. He did not say anything else and instead immersed himself in comprehending the fusion of the secular sword principle, secular heart sutra, and soul healing technique. 3 days later, Hu Mainyang had finally finished refining the devil fetus. Chen Hao did not say anything and directly sent his soul into Hu Mainyang's mind. I've already absorbed the devil fetus into my soul residence. Come in and use your soul imprint to refine it with me. I believe it will only take a few hours to kill it. Hu Mainyang, why do I feel like you're going to do something to me? I have 100 ways to control you. Why do I have to use this? You're right. Let's merge our souls first. Only then can we act in unison. Chen Hao said. There's no need. I've said it before. This time, we'll rely on our own abilities to refine the devil fetus's imprint. Whoever refines more will get more. As long as the two of us work together, it won't be able to resist us. There's no need to merge our souls. Come in. Hu Mainyang said calmly. Alright, let me remind you, although your soul power is not bad, it's just so to me. If you really want to do something, don't blame me for fighting to the death. Chen Hao said arrogantly. Don't worry. You're so long-winded. You're not a man at all. Hu Mainyang said. In her heart, she thought, idiot, after refining the devil fetus's power, my soul power is only half of what it used to be. Do you really think you can compete with me? The other half of Hu Mainyang's soul power had already been refined into a fake devil embryo. Once Chen Hao entered her soul palace and started to refine the devil fetus, she would launch a pincer attack. She would control and seal Chen Hao. Then she would have no choice but to swallow Chen Hao's soul energy bit by bit. Eventually, she would have complete control over Chen Hao, cancel the contract, and kill him. Chen Hao didn't hesitate and directly stepped into Hu Mainyang's soul palace. You first. Hu Mainyang had just opened her mouth to bait Chen Hao into starting, but she hadn't expected that Chen Hao would directly attack. What shocked her even more was that Chen Hao wasn't tempering himself. Instead, he was using his most berserk spiritual strength to attack the devil fetus. Chen Hao, what are you doing? I asked you to refine it, not kill it. I don't care about the energy of the devil fetus imprint. I'll give it all to you. I'll kill it, and you can refine it yourself. The sooner you finish refining it, the sooner we can part ways. Rumble. A terrifying soul explosion suddenly sounded. How dare you not listen to me? Hu Mainyang said angrily, seal. Boundless soul power formed a terrifying rune and bloomed from Hu Mainyang's soul imprint. It covered the sky and covered the earth as it enveloped Chen Hao. Their souls intertwined in an instant. Neither Chen Hao nor Hu Mainyang objected to this, because neither of them wanted the other to explode their soul imprint and die together. Bitch, do you really think I don't know what you're doing? What do you mean? If you act recklessly again, I'll kill you immediately. Do as I say. Use the power of the soul imprint to refine the devil fetus. Immediately. Do you think I'm an idiot? The devil fetus now is you, bitch. Chen Hao's soul emitted a dazzling sword light and attacked Hu Mainyang's rune. However, Hu Mainyang's heart trembled, and her voice suddenly became extremely cold. You actually know about it? It seems that I've underestimated you. Since that's the case, there's no need to hide anymore. It's just a matter of wasting more time and energy. Sacrifice. In an instant, 13 white jade tablets appeared out of thin air. Each of them bloomed with a dazzling light. The runes on the tablets seemed to have come to life at this moment and connected together. They suppressed Chen Hao's soul. Condense. Chen Hao shouted angrily. His soul shrunk in an instant, as if it had turned into a solid crystal, emitting a sparkling and translucent light. His soul turned into a sword and ferociously attacked Hu Mainyang's soul imprint. Rumble. The moment the white jade tablets came crashing down like mountains, Chen Hao and Hu Mainyang's soul imprints collided and became entangled. At this moment, the devil fetus returned and merged with Hu Mainyang. Bitch, let's see who's going to devour who. Buzz. Chen Hao's soul trembled. Suddenly, thousands of high-speed whirlpools appeared on the surface of his soul and began to devour Hu Mainyang's soul energy. How can you be compared to me, Hu Mainyang? Whether it's soul energy, soul imprint, or will, there's a huge gap between us. Hu Mainyang sensed Chen Hao's soul and snorted coldly. At the same time, she began to devour Chen Hao's soul energy at an even faster speed. At this moment, Chen Hao's sudden attack caught Hu Mainyang off guard. Her carefully laid trap was completely ineffective. She was forced to entangle her soul with Chen Hao's. It became a battle of soul energy and will. However, although Hu Mainyang was shocked and angry, she was not afraid. This was because Chen Hao was much weaker than she had imagined. She believed that with her powerful soul energy and will, it would not be difficult for her to control Chen Hao. If she had known that Chen Hao was only this strong, she would not have spent so much effort to wait for 3 days. Then let's try it. It won't be long before you know that you're just struggling on your deathbed. I, Hu Mainyang, did not want to waste too much energy. That's why I set a trap for you. It can also reduce the time you're in pain. I didn't expect you to be so useless. I'm curious. How did you know that I was going to devour you? Are you curious? Why don't you sense your soul abode? Chen Hao said disdainfully. What's going on? Hu Mainyang was shocked. Are you fusing with your soul? Congratulations, you're right. Bitch, it must feel good to be attacked from both sides, right? Fusing with your soul and splitting into two. Even I have underestimated you. However, even if you fuse with your soul, you're still not my match. Devour! Hu Mainyang shouted. Her soul-devouring power increased by several folds. Chapter 777. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, she's stronger than I expected? Although Chen Hao had expected this, he was still shocked when he sensed Hu Mainyang's terrifying speed of devouring and refining. Hu Mainyang had an innate Taoist embryo and a devil fetus. Moreover, her realm was much higher than Chen Hao's. She was definitely a strong opponent that Chen Hao had never encountered before. If Chen Hao hadn't made sufficient preparations to break through Hu Mainyang's perilous situation at the beginning and split his fused soul into two in advance, it wouldn't have been long before he was killed by this woman. Even so, Chen Hao was still at a disadvantage when facing Hu Mainyang, who suddenly went all out, buzz. Without any hesitation, Chen Hao's two souls suddenly trembled violently as he immersed himself in the chanting of the primary principles of the Great Tao. The Sanskrit of the Great Tao resounded in the soul, connecting the two souls and resonating with each other. The secular sword way and the solitary sword art merged together, activated by soul power, violently attacking, devouring, and refining. Boom, boom, boom. The sword light and the 13 white jade crystal steels activated by Hu Mainyang set off monstrous waves in Hu Mainyang's soul abode. Terrifying explosions, devastating soul power, and earth-shattering pressure. If they were in the big world, many experts of the heaven celestial stage would have been intimidated. At this moment, whether it was Hu Mainyang or Chen Hao, the pain their souls were enduring was beyond their imagination. The feeling of being crushed and devoured by the other party was 100 times, 1,000 times more painful than being bitten by thousands of ants. At this moment, their willpower and state of mind were crucial to the two of them. Once either of them couldn't bear the pain and their mind collapsed, then no matter how strong their soul power was, or how fast they could devour and refine the other party, they would disintegrate in an instant. However, the two of them gritted their teeth and were determined to win. At this point, it was a fight to the death. There was no way out. Both of them knew that only one of them could survive. Whoever controlled the other could kill the other. In the entanglement of souls, it was impossible to detonate the soul using the soul symbiotic contract. The only way was to continuously attack, crush, devour, and refine. Formless, without thought, without heaven and earth, without me, Chen Hao, who had long surpassed his own limits, was in more and more pain. However, the Sanskrit chants of the Great Tao became more and more magnificent. The general outline of the Great Tao that Chen Hao still didn't know how it worked, suddenly took shape with his voice as he recited it over and over again. It condensed into golden characters that floated around Chen Hao's soul that had been split into two, radiating crystal light in all directions. Attacking, crushing the opponent's soul power, devouring, refining, all of this was done under the control of Chen Hao's will. But at this moment, the enlightenment and changes from the general outline of the Great Tao allowed Chen Hao to enter a state of emptiness. The secular swordsmanship, the secular heart sutra, the solitary sword art, the use of the soul, and many other ultimate techniques suddenly merged into one, as if they had become the most natural rhythm of millions of years, the pulse of the world. However, the general outline of the Great Tao was the cauldron that fused everything together. How can he be so strong? I, Hu Mainyang, have a pre-celestial Tao embryo, a mid-heavenly immortal. Furthermore, I've refined the evil will of the patriarch, and I'm in my soul abode. There's no reason for me to be inferior to him. I can't lose. Boom, boom, boom. Hu Mainyang's soul suddenly let out an extremely sharp, soul-piercing howl. Using the sound to form a seal, she isolated herself from the pain. Once again, she was evenly matched with Chen Hao, who had suddenly become stronger. Buzz, 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 buzz. But only a moment later, a soul-shaking sound that contained a mystery that Hu Mainyang couldn't understand directly drowned out her howl. Chen Hao's speed of devouring her soul power became even faster. Impossible! I can't lose. I, Hu Meinyang, am loved by all. I was born in defiance of the heavens, and I grew up in defiance of the heavens. No one can stop me from stepping on the path to the peak. I must trample all the heavens under my feet. Hu Meinyang, you deceived your master and destroyed your ancestors. You're doomed. This is karma, this is retribution, ha. Suddenly, from the depths of Hu Meinyang's soul imprint came a charming but cold voice that took pleasure in her misfortune. What? You're still here? You're just a heaven celestial. You want to really kill me? I'm the spiritual intelligence born from the evil thoughts of your ancestor. I'm immortal, indestructible, and immortal. Now, submit to me and I can still let you live. Together with me, we can rise above the heavens, become true immortals, and attain eternal life. Otherwise, you'll be killed by this kid. This kid is not as simple as you think. Dream on. No one can kill me, Hu Meinyang, and no one can make me submit. You better think carefully or it'll be too late. When your soul power is almost completely devoured by this kid, even if I take control, you won't be able to turn the situation around. Stop dreaming. If you don't want to die, then submit to me. Become my slave. Then you can just wait for death. At most, I'll return to the 13 white jade crystal tablets and wait for my spiritual intelligence to be born again. Hu Meinyang could clearly feel that Chen Hao was devouring her soul power faster and faster. The sound of the great path's Sanskrit, which could shake one's soul, made it difficult for her to breathe. At this point, no matter how unwilling she was, she knew that this time, she was defeated. Defeated by a cultivator at the Earth's celestial stage who was being toyed with by her. She regretted that she had underestimated Chen Hao. But it was useless to regret. Let's each take a step back. Your mark and my mark will fuse together and coexist forever. You and I have the same goal, so we won't affect each other. The devil fetus sensed Hu Meinyang's condition and said again. Everything was under its control. The 10th level of the Red Dust Sutra. Illusion is reality. Even Hu Meinyang didn't know what was happening to her. Similarly, the 10th level of the Red Dust Sutra, Illusion is reality, affected not only Hu Meinyang, but also Chen Hao. But I promise you. Come in. Don't play tricks with me. Without me, you know the consequences. The devil fetus, which Hu Meinyang couldn't sense in the slightest, suddenly appeared and fused into her soul imprint. Buzz. In an instant, their soul marks merged into one. I'll take the lead. You and I become one. Rumble, as the devil fetus spoke, the 10th level of the Red Dust Sutra, which merged with the power of their soul marks, started to run wildly. At this moment, Chen Hao suddenly felt the pressure on him increase greatly. The 10th level of the Red Dust Sutra? The aura of the devil fetus? Chen Hao, who was in the state of thoughtless tranquility, suddenly woke up. He was shocked. He had thought that victory was in his hands and he would soon be able to control Hu Meinyang completely. He didn't expect that the devil fetus would appear again and merge with Hu Meinyang's soul mark. What's going on? Did Hu Meinyang not only fail to refine the devil fetus, but she was also conquered by it? This wasn't the situation when he and Hu Meinyang had joined forces to deal with the devil fetus. At that time, the devil fetus could only control a small portion of the power of the 13 white jade crystal tablets. Now, the devil fetus and Hu Meinyang had complete control over the white jade crystal tablets, including Hu Meinyang's soul strength. This situation, coupled with the power of the 10th level of the Red Dust Sutra, put Chen Hao in a dangerous situation. The tables had turned. Chapter 778. What should I do? Chen Hao's mind raced. No matter how much he urged the primary outline of the Great Tao to devour, his speed of devouring and refining was overtaken by Hu Meinyang and the devil fetus who had suddenly joined forces. If this continued, Chen Hao would definitely die. The only way is to devour and refine faster. Let's do it. Boom. At this moment of life and death, Chen Hao threw caution to the wind. He gave up on his defenses and used all his strength to devour and refine Hu Meinyang's soul. This was a gamble. A gamble that Hu Mainyang would not choose to die with him. Originally, both of them had split their energy to prevent the other from fighting to the death. Even when Hu Mainyang was in danger, they did not dare to do so. But now Chen Hao was going crazy. What? Hu Mainyang exclaimed. This lunatic. Why is he not afraid of death? Boom, 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 all of Chen Hao's mind, all of his strength, was used to crazily attack, devour, and refine. In the state of thoughtless tranquility, the general outline of the great Tao rumbled and the speed of devouring and refining rapidly increased. At this time, Hu Mainyang and the devil fetus, who had used all their trump cards and could not become stronger, were very nervous. If the crazy Chen Hao's devouring and refining speed surpassed theirs, the only thing they could do was to die with Chen Hao. But just as Chen Hao's devouring and refining speed was about to catch up to Hu Mainyang and the devil fetus, it stopped. It could not grow any further. Hu Mainyang and the devil fetus heaved a sigh of relief. Chen Hao, I didn't expect you to be so crazy. Your soul and will are indeed very strong, but it's a pity that it's still lacking. Now it's just delaying your death. Chen Hao was desperate. He had given up on his defense. He thought that he could surpass Hu Mainyang's devouring and refining speed. He would stop when he reached the same level. Otherwise, if Hu Mainyang fell into true despair, she would definitely choose to die with him. Chen Hao only wanted to reach the same level and then think of a way out. But now, they couldn't even reach a stalemate. Little fellow, I told you to cooperate with me long ago, but you didn't listen. Now that I've become one with this shameless girl, do you regret it now? You two bitches, Chen Hao said angrily. His mind, however, was frantically working. He was looking for an opportunity to change his fate in the Soul Palace. The general outline of the Great Tao, the 3,000 Great Taos, various inheritances, and all his past experiences flashed rapidly in his mind. He had no reason to give up until the last moment. But there was no effective way. No, I can't be killed by these two monsters. If I can break through to the 10th level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra in the remaining time, there is still hope. Or perhaps he could master the Great Devouring Technique. But that was impossible. Only the Red Dust Heart Sutra is left. Kid, no matter how much of a genius you are, the time you have left is too short. Chen Hao was startled. An aged voice suddenly rang out from within his soul palace. However, shortly after, Chen Hao determined who it was from the voice and asked in surprise, "Senior, it's you?" "Yes, it's me." "You have the ultimate technique of the 3,000 Great Taos, but you don't know how to make use of it. It's good that you can find your own Tao, but you don't care about it even though you have the ultimate techniques of your ancestors that have been passed down for billions of years. Senior, it's not that I don't care about it, but that I don't have the time," Chen Hao said. All along, Chen Hao had been in a nervous state. He had never stopped moving. There was no possibility of him calming down and cultivating in seclusion for a long period of time. As for the 3,000 Great Taos, any one of them required him to truly calm down and cultivate in seclusion for a long period of time. Only then would he be able to learn the ultimate techniques. It was not something that could be grasped in a short period of time. Chen Hao had already made plans. The abnormal space-time laws in the primitive secret realm were an opportunity. After he had settled down, he would slow down and truly cultivate in seclusion. Old Man's strand of consciousness originally wanted to see if you could fuse the two great Taos together. Now, it seems that I won't be able to see it. As for the final power, Old Man will help you suppress the God's consciousness. God's consciousness? God's consciousness is what you call the demon fetus. The evil consciousness left behind by the peak mighty figures of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm after they die. If they gain sentience, they will be called God's consciousness. However, the one you encountered was only in its embryonic form. It doesn't even have a 10,000th of its peak strength. Alright, that girl isn't an evil person. The demon fetus is the original sin. Senior, what do you mean? Illusion is reality, reality is illusion. In fact, when you thought that you had destroyed the God's consciousness, Hu Mainyang had already entered its illusory reality. However, she didn't know it. This is also the 10th level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra. It's beyond the imagination of the two of you. This Red Dust Heart Sutra is indeed a supreme technique. How can that be? I clearly probed Hu Meinyang's memories. Otherwise, how could the illusion be reality? When you destroyed the god's consciousness, it directly changed Hu Meinyang's fundamental memories. You, on the other hand, were indirectly affected because you probed her memories. Alright, you'll understand after I help you destroy the god's consciousness. I hope you can take care of old man's only disciple, Pan Long. If possible, pass on that old man's soul technique to Pan Long as well. Of course, you can also pass on my legacy technique to those two little fellows. Extreme Tao might be their final destination, but if they don't try it, they'll end up like old man. It'll become a lifelong regret. Prepare yourself. Senior. Old man is just a strand of consciousness. It'll dissipate sooner or later. It's worth it to be able to help you in the end. Prepare yourself. Chen Hao was grateful. He knew that this was just the light of the legacy memory that Pan Long gave him after his return. However, he didn't expect that the weakened consciousness would still exist and enter his mind along with the legacy memory, becoming the only thing he could rely on at this moment. Sensing the weak consciousness from this strand of consciousness, Chen Hao didn't hesitate any longer. He divided his attention and once again guarded the symbiotic soul contract with Hu Meinyang. You're guarding it again? Do you think we'll die together with you? The devil fetus's pleasant voice was full of ridicule and relaxation. It was also at this moment that the divine consciousness left behind by the extreme Tao powerhouse suddenly turned into a wisp of fluctuation. It was very, very weak, as if a gust of wind could blow it away. However, it was precisely this weak fluctuation that imperceptibly penetrated Chen Hao's soul palace. Immediately, it easily broke through the violent attack and devouring force formed by Hu Meinyang and the devil fetus and directly integrated into the two's combined soul imprint. Without any warning, a dazzling light as bright as the sun suddenly bloomed. There was no energy fluctuation or coercion, only light. It seemed like a light that could purify all evils in the world. The devil fetus, who was still proud of himself, suddenly let out a horrifying scream. Immediately, her scream came to an abrupt end. Hu Meinyang was shocked to find that the devil fetus imprint that she had formed with her for all eternity had returned to nothingness in an instant, not even leaving behind a trace of its aura. What happened? What's going on? What's that light? At this moment, Hu Meinyang's mind was filled with all kinds of questions, but more than that, she was shocked. The release of her nature, the experience just now, and the sudden fluctuation of the memories in her soul. Instantly, Hu Meinyang broke out in a cold sweat. Chapter 779. Chen Hao, it wasn't me. Hu Meinyang said anxiously. Are you afraid? Why don't you continue to be arrogant? Chen Hao said sternly as he continued to devour her soul. It really wasn't me. I won't do it. I said that even if I can't succeed, I'll fulfill your wish. It's impossible for me to succeed and kill you. You have to believe me. Why should I believe you? I was almost killed by you. Why should I believe you? Chen Hao said arrogantly, seemingly unmoved. The devil fetus used the 10th level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra to make me lose my sense of self. If you don't believe me, then kill me. Hu Meinyang said bitterly as she endured the pain of her soul being devoured. Not to mention Chen Hao, even Hu Meinyang herself felt that this reason was ridiculous. Because everything was too natural, so natural that there were no flaws. Her nature changed, her memory changed, and the result was a world of difference. At this point, Hu Meinyang gave up resisting. Forget it, I won't lower myself to your level. However, Hu Meinyang didn't expect that when she gave up resisting and prepared to die, Chen Hao would magnanimously stop. Remove the soul symbiotic contract. Don't force me to do it myself. Chen Hao said. Whether you believe me or not, I still want to say that I'm not that kind of person. I don't need your pity. Although Chen Hao stopped devouring her, Hu Meinyang didn't feel any joy. Because Chen Hao's cold words showed that he didn't believe her at all. She didn't need to be merciful and soft-hearted. She directly floated the imprint of her soul residence to Chen Hao's soul. Chen Hao sent out a stream of soul force into Hu Mainyang's soul imprint. Without encountering any resistance, he controlled her soul imprint, directly synchronizing it with his own. The soul symbiosis contract between the two of them was cancelled and immediately stepped out of Hu Mainyang's mind. Although Chen Hao knew what was going on, he still stared at Hu Mainyang after returning to his body and asked, "You won't attack me again, right? If I can comprehend the next few layers of the Red Dust Heart Sutra, I'll fulfill my promise and teach them to you. Or, you can look for me at any time, and we can practice dual cultivation." Hu Mainyang didn't look at Chen Hao again. She took a deep breath, looked into the distance, and waved her hand. Rumble! 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 In the instant that Hu Mainyang waved her hand, the 1,000-mile seal collapsed. Mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Rubble flew everywhere and dust covered the sky, as if venting the loneliness and desolation in Hu Mainyang's heart. She had already said what she needed to say. Whether he believed her or not, she didn't want to explain anymore. "It's over." Chen Hao looked up at the sky and muttered. Then he let out a long howl. Rumble! A loud and vigorous howl resounded through the 9 heavens like the descent of thunder, and a vast and terrifying essence, energy, and spirit shot into the sky like a true dragon leaving its lair or a ferocious tiger leaving its cage. Wind and clouds gathered, heaven and earth rumbled, Tao laws surged, multicolored light was born, and auspicious qi was vast and mighty. 1,000 miles, 10,000 miles, 100,000 miles, 1,000,000 miles. At this moment, countless cultivators from various galaxies looked at the void where Chen Hao was. Their faces were full of shock and horror. The howl lasted for a full 5 minutes. Then, Chen Hao breathed a sigh of relief and stopped. His mind was clear, and his spirit was refreshed. The suffocation of more than 20 years had been completely vented. It was as if he had been reborn. His spiritual altar became more crystal clear, and the enhancement of his soul power made his senses sharper. Even the scenery in front of him had undergone subtle changes. Chen Hao knew that this was a transformation of the soul and state of mind. "Congratulations, Master." Old God only dared to speak at this time. "It's just a narrow escape from death." "Old God, you motherfucker, this is the only time. If you dare to make decisions for me in the future without telling me the truth, don't blame me for being rude," Chen Hao said sternly. Although this could be considered a blessing in disguise, Chen Hao did not want to experience it a second time. If Old God had not dropped the ball, he would not have been suffocated for more than 20 years. As for Hu Mainyang, although Chen Hao knew what was going on, he did not want to get close to this woman. Her character dictated. She was too smart and too powerful. She could play him in the palm of her hand at any time, especially when she almost did him. This made Chen Hao, who was arrogant in his bones, very unhappy. "Master, I won't do it again. I finally realized that you humans are never something that we, the weapon spirits, can understand. The Mortal Heart Sutra is really powerful." Old God had already understood what was going on from Chen Hao's shared memories. From Hu Mainyang's memories, Chen Hao knew that the white jade crystal tablet was created by the Misty Rain Tower's founder who was on the verge of death. He had collected countless supreme materials and condensed them with supreme divine ability. He had also left behind the Misty Rain Tower's supreme inheritance on it and suppressed his evil thoughts within it. The reason why she did this was to prevent her disciples from cultivating from the 10th to the 13th level of the Mortal Heart Sutra when they were not in the right realm. According to the handwritten instructions left by the founder of the Misty Rain Tower, the last 4 levels of the Mortal Heart Sutra could only be cultivated after reaching the peak of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. From the 10th level onwards, there was a qualitative change. This was also the reason why she used her evil thoughts to prevent her disciples from comprehending the 10th level. Unless one state of mind was beyond the realm of evil thoughts, otherwise, they would be possessed by the devil and become a peerless devil who harmed the world. This was because if one state of mind was not in the right realm, they would be trapped in the 7 emotions and 6 desires, unable to extricate themselves. They would completely lose themselves and all kinds of desires would be magnified infinitely. It was easy to enter the world, but difficult to leave it. The closer one reached the end of the Mortal Heart Sutra, the deeper one would fall into the 7 emotions and 6 desires. If one did not have the corresponding state of mind, they would not be able to extricate themselves from it. One could imagine how terrifying that would be. Even the founder of the Misty Rain Tower could not sever his Tao and sever his evil thoughts from cultivating the Mortal Heart Sutra. Mainyang being infected by the devil fetus was a precedent. Mainyang took a deep look at Chen Hao before she turned into a ray of light and left at lightning speed. It's been more than 20 years. They should be fine, right? I wonder what the outcome of the battle back then was. After a while, Chen Hao withdrew his aura and blended into the world. He also flew into the sky and headed toward the depths of the heavens with an agitated heart. A few days later, I'm Lan Feng, a disciple of the divine palace of the human race. Whoever saves me will be rewarded with an ancient divine artifact. Even if you scream yourself hoarse, no one can save you. Stop and hand over all your treasures. Maybe we'll consider letting you live. Bullshit. I'd rather be destroyed than let you outsiders get any of my treasures. Save me. You bunch of trash, even if you kill me, Ao Tian will not let you go. He will kill you all in the world. Chapter 780. What a joke. Proud Heaven is strong, but there are only a few of them. Do you think they'll hunt us down for you? Besides, Proud Heaven's members have been gone for a long time. They've already entered the land of inheritance. What's there to be afraid of? Do you know who I am? Aren't you Lan Feng, a disciple of the human temple? Then do you know who gave Proud Heaven boss Chen Hao the Tao manifestation immortal fruit core? I'm Lan Feng. Do you know the relationship between me, Lan Feng, and boss Chen Hao? We're master and disciple. Why do I hear that you and Chen Hao have a grudge, and that's why Chen Hao stole your Tao manifestation immortal fruit core? You don't know shit. Chen Hao did have a grudge with me at the beginning, but after that, he gave me treasures to Chen Hao. Also, Chen Hao taught me his peerless sword art and undying sword Tao. Were you all blind in the previous battle? Didn't you see how strong my peerless sword art was? Lan Feng shouted as he fled on his firestorm wheels. Boss, it really does look a little similar. Back then, I saw Chen Hao slaughtering our clan's army. Every move he made was aimed at our vital points. It was so ingenious that there was no trace of it. It's indeed very similar to the sword technique Lan Feng used to fight us. One of the dozens of cultivators who were chasing after Lan Feng said. So what? Even if Chen Hao was really related to him, he didn't even know if Chen Hao was dead or alive. Most likely, Chen Hao had already perished together with Mainyang of the human race. What's there to be afraid of? Even if he's not dead, we'll just kill him and hide. The 9 restrictions will end in a few years, and then we'll be teleported back to where we came from. Even if we close our eyes, we won't run into him again. What's there to be afraid of? Chen Hao flew along for a few days, becoming one with heaven and earth. Along the way, he encountered quite a few cultivators, and also learned a bit of news about what had happened in recent years. That news filled Chen Hao with excitement, warmth, and pride. Proud of Proud Heaven. His women, his brothers, and his reputation in the primal secret realm, they were going to make Proud Heaven's name resound throughout the world. Follow boss's orders and fight for the human race. Chen Hao did not know the purpose at all. This made Chen Hao blush with shame and even his balls hurt. However, Chen Hao knew why his brothers and sisters were doing this. However, Chen Hao, who had just put down all his belongings, never imagined that he would meet the son of destiny, Lan Feng, again here today. What was even more unexpected was that Lan Feng was actually being hunted down and in a dangerous situation. What was even more unexpected was that Lan Feng had actually used his name to intimidate foreign cultivators. Moreover, they were master and disciple. What was going on? Even Chen Hao was confused, especially when he heard the foreign cultivator's words. It seemed like Lan Feng had learned his solitary sword technique and invincible sword intent. Could it be the message I left behind last time? Chen Hao combed through all the details regarding Lan Feng in his mind and locked onto the only possibility. It must be. Back then, in order to disguise myself as an expert, I used the solitary sword technique and invincible sword intent to confuse this guy. I didn't expect them to become Dao marks. Furthermore, this guy's comprehension ability is quite high. He actually managed to comprehend them with just a few words. Damn, he really is the son of destiny. What a pity. Chen Hao, who had become one with heaven and earth, smirked wickedly. He had originally thought that his fate with Lan Feng had come to an end, but now it seemed that it was really an unbreakable fate. They had only been out for a few days, and now they had met again. I should be able to get some good stuff, right? There's no hurry. Chen Hao merged into the myriad of things in the heavens and the earth, and he followed the group of xenorace experts in a carefree manner. Even though there were many experts at the peak of the initial stage of the heavenly immortal realm amongst them, and they might be more formidable than Chen Hao in terms of true essence alone, Chen Hao believed that he would be able to annihilate these few tens of people with a flick of his finger, and there was utterly no suspense. For more than 20 years, Chen Hao had not refined his true core strength, and his cultivation level was still at the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. However, his Red Dust Heart Sutra, Red Dust Sword Principle, and his soul power after devouring Humaingyang were many times more powerful than before. As long as he did not encounter a freakish heaven celestial like Humaingyang, no one could stop him. Even his soul power could imprison these guys, let alone his Red Dust Heart Sutra and Red Dust Sword Principle. Boss is right. This guy has so many treasures with him. Just the saint-level runes alone, he has already used 3. This is a person with great providence. His divine rune is already at the end of its flight and does not have much energy left. Go after him with all your might. Dozens of mysterious clan cultivators sped up again. Damn it. Don't push me. If you push me too far, I will take you down with me. As expected, the firestorm wheels under Lan Feng's feet suddenly turned into a ray of light and disappeared automatically after exhausting all its energy. In just a few breaths' time, Lan Feng, who was covered in wounds and had consumed a lot of energy, was caught up by the mysterious clan cultivators. At this moment, a horrible pressure suddenly came from the void in the distance. The sword essence soared into the sky. It was immortal and indestructible. Who dares to hurt my apprentice? A majestic, arrogant, cold, and disdainful voice came from thousands of miles away. It was like a bolt from the blue. Chen Hao. No, boss Chen Hao. Chen Hao's master. You are here. I am here to give you treasures. Save me. When Lan Feng heard this voice, his eyes widened to the size of copper bells. After a moment of sluggishness, he suddenly laughed wildly with incomparable excitement, as if he had grasped at a life-saving straw. What? Chen Hao? Killing God? Chen Hao? What a terrifying, indestructible sword essence. This aura, this voice. It is definitely him. I am sure of it. The mysterious clan cultivator who had said that he had seen Chen Hao turned pale. As soon as the word left his mouth, he turned into a ray of light and fled with all his strength. Split up and run. Boom, 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 all of them fled like frightened birds. In an instant, they scattered and fled thousands of miles away. However, Chen Hao was confused by the scene in front of him. This was because Chen Hao, who was focused on the mysterious clan cultivators and Lan Feng, did not sense the aura around him at all. Even Chen Hao himself felt that the voice and the sword essence were very similar to him, let alone the other cultivators. Filled with confusion and surprise, Chen Hao instantly released his powerful soul perception. A moment later, thousands of miles away, Chen Hao locked onto an aura. It is her? Chen Hao was speechless. This was an aura that Chen Hao had almost forgotten. It was much stronger than before and had changed a lot. If Chen Hao's soul perception had not improved by many times and the other party's aura and bloodline aura could not be changed, even Chen Hao would have thought that it was someone else. Chapter 781. She took the initiative to save me and even impersonated me. How unexpected. Chen Hao sighed. With a flash of light, Chen Hao quickly arrived near the blue peak. Her expression and appearance were exactly the same, but the moment Lan Feng saw her, he was dumbfounded. Although this Chen Hao had the same appearance and aura as Chen Hao, at such a close distance, this Chen Hao exuded the aura of primordial yin that only a young girl could possess. This woman was Bailey Ningbing, whom he had not seen for a long time. If you don't want to die, you'd better get out of here. I can't save you with my real strength. I can only impersonate Chen Hao to scare them away. Bailey Ningbing said to Lan Feng, who was staring at her in a daze. We're finished. Lan Feng sat on the ground and said, they planted a seal on me. We've been exposed. Seal? What seal? Can't you erase it? If I could, I would have erased it a long time ago. No matter how hard I tried to hide or how far I ran, not only could these bastards catch up with me, they even know what I've been through. We're finished. I'm afraid you're in trouble. The aura of the invincible sword principle is so strong. I didn't expect you to be in the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage, Qi. Just as Lan Feng had said, the demonic clan cultivators who had fled in all directions came back aggressively. Other than the direction where Bailey Ningbing had come from, the rest of the demonic clan cultivators were blocked off. In an instant, powerful cultivators filled in the gaps. Ha! Damn it, a woman dares to impersonate Chen Hao. Luckily, there's nothing I don't know with the heavenly talisman. Boss is awesome. This woman's invincible sword principle is very strong. She's also an original yin body. Even if she doesn't look that good, she's still of the highest quality. Boss, your luck is unparalleled. Ha! Tisk tsk, she's still in the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. There are more and more geniuses in the human race. Her potential must be very strong. Ha! Little girl, show me your true form. If it's not bad, I can take you as my cultivation partner. Light streaked across the sky, accompanied by aggressive voices. One after another, the demonic clan cultivators returned. Do you dare? My boss is in seclusion nearby. Touch a single finger of mine and he will know. Killing all of you will be as easy as killing dogs. Bailey Ningbing coldly declared. Pa, don't tell me that your boss is the god of slaughter Chen Hao? Idiot! Other than members of Proud Heaven, who would dare to impersonate Chen Hao? Who could disguise themselves so well? Scram immediately. Otherwise, I don't mind disturbing boss's closed-door cultivation. Bailey Ningbing spoke proudly, and her cold and arrogant gaze seemed as if she was looking at a group of ants even though she was only at the advanced stage of the earthly immortal realm. Boss. One of the foreign race cultivators was intimidated by Bailey Ningbing's aura. He looked uncertainly at the leader of the group, but was interrupted by a raise of his hand. Do you think we grew up in fear? You did indeed disguise yourself well, especially the undying sword intent. However, who didn't know that the god of slaughter Chen Hao and Saintess Humaingyang's whereabouts were unknown? If the god of slaughter Chen Hao was here, would we still have a chance to live? Why would you ask us to scram? Pa, brothers, take it easy. Don't hurt this woman. Go. Boom. The leader of the foreign race attacked first. Boom, boom, boom. Shortly after, the other foreign race cultivators also surrounded them. Bailey Ningbing, who was still in the appearance of Chen Hao, changed her expression. She knew that she had failed. Hence, without any hesitation, she attacked the group that she felt was the weakest. Motherfucker, I'll fight it out with you. Boom. Lan Feng's glabella shone brightly as he activated a rune that emitted a terrifying aura. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was about to burn his soul. Good disciple, don't be rash. Don't waste it. Just at this moment, a voice floated out. Shortly after, a terrifying aura enveloped the entire area. Bailey Ningbing's heart skipped a beat. Lan Feng's mouth that was spitting out blood froze. He couldn't close it, and his eyes were wide open. As for the foreign cultivators who had formed an encirclement within a radius of 1,000 miles, they all felt their hair stand on end. Their souls instantly felt as if a towering and heavy mountain was pressing down on them, causing them to suffocate. They even lost control of their bodies and were separated from their souls. Chen Hao appeared next to Lan Feng without making a sound. But a slap landed on the head of the stunned Lan Feng. Immediately, the rune that was emitting a bright light floated in front of him. Lan Feng was forcefully interrupted, and his inner yuan that was about to explode from the internal injuries he suffered instantly calmed down. Chen Hao. Bailey Ningbing bit her lips as she muttered in her heart. There were too many strange emotions in her eyes, as though she was struggling. She knew that even though she was still in the appearance of Chen Hao had already seen through her. But Chen Hao didn't even look at her. Haven't I already let it go? But Bailey Ningbing's delicate body trembled. Her tranquil heart was once again in turmoil. Ever since Moling Takshu wanted to be intimate with her, she suddenly woke up and understood her own heart. She completely jumped out of the demon barrier of the past. When she recalled the past, there was only bitterness and irreversible. Letting it go might be her final destination. Only then could she maintain the peace in her heart. All these years, no matter where she went, she would hear all kinds of news about him. She had even met him by chance. But she would choose to avoid him immediately and hide far away. She had always thought that she had truly let it go and could face the past calmly. Because every time she heard news about Chen Hao, she could remain calm. There was no jealousy, no envy, and no hatred. He was a person who had nothing to do with her anymore, wasn't he? And today, she heard Lan Feng's cry for help. She even casually disguised herself as Chen Hao. Being able to save a human disciple was also a good thing. But she didn't expect, she actually met the main character. The main character who had disappeared for more than 20 years. She also didn't expect that after meeting him in person, she would still be blatantly ignored. Her heart, which she thought was tranquil, actually began to ripple uncontrollably. Bailey Ningbing bit her lips tightly, tasting the unbearable bitterness. I can't forget. I can't forget. I can't forget. What are you still standing there for? Go, kill the dog and take the treasure. Chen Hao kicked Lan Feng's butt. But Chen Hao, no, Boss Chen Hao, Master Chen Hao. Save me to the end. I don't want to die. Idiot, just kill when I tell you to. Chen Hao scolded. It can't move? Can't move? Lan Feng, who had been kicked like a meteor by Chen Hao, wasn't hurt in the slightest. When he was about to reach a foreign cultivator, he saw that the foreign cultivator's face was covered in cold sweat and his eyes were empty. It was as if he didn't see him at all. Instead, he saw something extremely terrifying. Lan Feng finally noticed the abnormality and was extremely shocked. Fuck your mother, die. Lan Feng shouted excitedly and attacked. Chapter 782. Lan Feng had turned into a cold and merciless executioner, harvesting the lives of the non-human experts who had wanted to kill him just a moment ago. Screams, blood mist, meat paste. One by one, they walked towards destruction. Under Chen Hao's terrifying soul pressure, no one could resist. They didn't even notice Lan Feng's approach before they died. In less than 10 minutes, the cultivators who had surrounded Lan Feng, Bailey Ningbing, and Chen Hao were all killed by Lan Feng. Bailey Ningbing stared blankly with mixed feelings. Among the dozens of cultivators, half of them were at the Heaven Celestial stage. However, regardless of whether they were Earth Celestial stage, Heaven Celestial stage, or even their leader, there was no difference. From the beginning to the end, Chen Hao only had a crystal between his eyebrows and a pair of shining eyes. Other than that, there was nothing special about him. However, he was able to imprison every single cultivator within 1,000 miles. What kind of shocking strength was this? Whether it was Lan Feng, whose face was covered in blood, or Bailey Ningbing, who was biting her lips and feeling bitter, they couldn't imagine that he was only at the later stage of the Earth Celestial stage. Boss Chen Hao, these are all the treasures that we've collected. There are not many decent items. Thank you for saving my life. Give me all the elixirs and spiritual fruits that can refine one's magic power. Including yours. Don't tell me you don't have anything. I won't strip you naked this time. The sparkling and translucent mark between Chen Hao's eyebrows suddenly disappeared. The corner of his mouth carried a devilish smile that made Lan Feng's heart skip a beat. No problem. Chi. Lan Feng hurriedly took out the ancient era's spirit herbs and spirit fruits he had obtained and presented them all to Chen Hao. There were over 100 ancient era's jade bottles exuding a mysterious aura and spirit fruits that emitted an intoxicating fragrance. Not to mention Bailey Ningbing, even Chen Hao, who had been mentally prepared, was shocked by Lan Feng's son of providence. Damn it, his cultivation is not high, but his luck is frightening. Not bad. This is 1/4 of what you have? Cough cough. Boss Chen Hao, this is all 1/5? It's really half of me now. If you don't believe me, I can open my mind and let you see. Forget it. I Chen Hao am not that kind of person. Thank you, boss. You don't have to thank me. The other half, as well as the ancient sacred artifact, can be handed over to me for safekeeping. You can keep the rest for yourself. If anything happens to you, I will avenge you. And, after stepping out of the primitive mystic realm, I will also send it to your family. Boss, don't be shy, it's nothing. Give it to me. The clothes you're wearing don't look bad either. Upon hearing Chen Hao's words, Lan Feng's face turned deathly pale. All right. Then I'll have to trouble you to keep it for me. Chi. In an instant, the sky was filled with dazzling light. Countless ancient treasures, spirit pills, and spirit fruits floated out from Lan Feng's forehead. Chen Hao waved his sleeves, and the dazzling light disappeared. Then, a milky white light shot out from his forehead and floated in front of Lan Feng. Undying, indestructible, immortal law. Solitary sword art. These 2 things are the most important to you. Study them well and try to return alive. Lan Feng looked like a frozen eggplant. When he saw the light in front of him and heard Chen Hao's words, he looked at Chen Hao excitedly. Boss, let me follow you. I want to join Aotion. No way. It's better for you to train on your own. That's it. Don't. Boss, don't go. Can you do me a favor? Favor? What favor? There's an ancient place of inheritance. I think it's very suitable for me. It's a pity that more than 10 elites from the Wing tribe have occupied the entrance. Those idiots can't even get in, but they refuse to leave. It's already been 2 years. Oh? You want me to help you get it? Boss, please help me. I, Lan Feng, promise you that everything I obtain in the primitive secret realm, other than what I can use, will be given to you. Lead the way. Chen Hao said directly. But, boss, this lady is one of the sisters-in-law? Thank you so much. Lan Feng looked at Bailey Ningbing, who hadn't said a word since the beginning. Bailey Ningbing and Chen Hao ignored each other. However, in Lan Feng's eyes, it was as Bailey Ningbing had said. Chen Hao was cultivating in seclusion nearby, and Bailey Ningbing was with Chen Hao. I don't know you. Chen Hao said directly. He looked at Bailey Ningbing and said, Don't pretend to be me in the future. You? Bailey Ningbing's mouth twitched. Her body shone brightly, and she returned to her original appearance. Chen Hao, I hate you. What, you want to fight me? Is your butt itching? Don't forget what I told you last time. Chen Hao narrowed his eyes, looking at Bailey Ningbing evilly. Bailey Ningbing's face instantly turned red, but her eyes were filled with humiliation. Her mood was already very complicated, and tears immediately welled up in her eyes. She glared fiercely at Chen Hao, then suddenly turned around and quickly left with a bang. Bailey Ningbing. Lan Feng said dumbfoundedly. You know her? Boss, everyone in the sacred temple knows her. Furthermore, she's destined to be your woman. It's no secret. Boss, aren't you with her? But, what? Destined to be my woman? What do I have to do with her? What do you mean together? I just happened to meet you. Chen Hao frowned. No way? This is too much of a coincidence. Lan Feng said, I've realized, boss, you're my savior, and I am your lucky star. Cut the crap, tell me what's going on. What do you mean what's going on? Damn, you just said she's destined to be my woman. Oh, so you didn't know, boss. I only found out after hearing it from my friends in the sacred temple. The rumors are like this. Lan Feng repeated what he had heard to Chen Hao word for word. Chen Hao was speechless, and finally understood why Bailey Ningbing wasn't with Moling Takshu. It turned out that on the aircraft that came to the primitive mystic realm, Moling Takshu wanted to enter an independent space with Bailey Ningbing but was rejected by her. When he was about to use force, Bailey Ningbing actually slapped him in front of so many cultivators. This made Moling Takshu realize that Bailey Ningbing had rejected him time and time again, not because she was shy, but because she wanted to make use of him. This caused him to fly into a rage out of humiliation, and he directly scolded Bailey Ningbing. Yes, in my heart, whether it's hate or love, it's all him. I want to make use of you to take revenge on him. I'm sorry. This was the last thing Bailey Ningbing said to the angry Moling Takshu in front of everyone. Fuck, so she's destined to be my woman? What has it got to do with me? Cough cough. Boss, love and hate, the deeper the love, the deeper the hatred. The rumored relationship between the two of you seems to be the truth. You know so much about my affairs? Don't talk about me. In the primitive mystic realm, boss, you've become the most dazzling existence. Anything about you will become the topic of discussion. Even the other races know very well. Actually, if you didn't appear just now, boss, Bailey Ningbing only had to reveal her real face and say her name, and those guys wouldn't dare to kill us. Chen Hao was speechless. Lead the way, I'll settle it with you quickly. I want to go into seclusion. But 2 days later, Lan Feng successfully entered the ancient land of inheritance. Chen Hao continued to go deeper. I'm afraid there are still undiscovered ancient land of inheritance in the core area. Looks like I can't leave this place in a short period of time. Little Wu, little Lien, and you, the last news I heard was more than 10 years ago. They must be cultivating in seclusion? When Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lien, and Xia Yu first appeared, Chen Hao didn't have time to communicate with them. He didn't know the situation in the core area at all. As for the ancient land of inheritance, Chen Hao didn't have much interest. There were countless treasures. How many was too many? Let's go deeper for a few more days. If I can find an ancient land of inheritance, then so be it. If not, I'll just find a place to cultivate in seclusion. Chen Hao blended into the world again. He felt the minute changes in space and headed straight for the core area. Woo woo woo, woo woo woo. I hate you, woo woo woo. Why can't I forget why? Clouds and mist lingered in the deep canyon. The sobbing sound was intermittent. It was unknown how long it would last. Until now, it had already been 2 days and there was still no sign of it stopping. Since young, she was blessed by the heavens. She had cultivated a proud heart. But now, she couldn't be proud anymore. She thought she had forgotten, thought she could do it. But when they met again, facing Chen Hao's indifference and words, it almost made her crazy again. She wanted to fight him to the death. Since you can't forget, why should you? Who? Bailey Ningbing suddenly stopped crying and asked in shock. It's me. Venerable Han Mei? Bailey Ningbing opened her eyes wide and looked at Venerable Han Mei, who appeared silently in front of her. She immediately raised her energy vigilantly. She knew about the conflict between Venerable Han Mei and her mother. It was because of a man that they fought to the death. But she didn't know what it was exactly. She only vaguely knew that her grandfather was afraid of that man. You're exactly the same as your mother when she was young. Venerable Han Mei smiled. What do you want? Bailey Ningbing took 2 steps back and asked cautiously. She was extremely shocked. Before entering the primal secret realm, Venerable Celestial Han Mei was already on a different level from her. But now, Venerable Celestial Han Mei had actually stepped into the heavenly immortal realm. Moreover, even though she had restrained her aura, Bailey Ningbing still felt a power that she could not resist. Chapter 783. There's no need to be nervous. Venerable Han Mei looked at Bailey Ningbing gently and said, You must have met Chen Hao, right? He's not dead, and he's much stronger than before. He's able to immobilize a heavenly immortal expert with just his aura alone. That's all I know. Bailey Ning Bing left quickly with a red face. Venerable Han Mei shook her head and didn't chase after her. What I owe, my son will repay. Karma, fate, who can change it? Who can transcend it? You've been a playboy all your life. Why are you talking about karma? Cough cough. Han Mei, the heavenly immortal realm's heaven's punishment has already severed your life. Why are you still so stubborn? Tell me honestly, how am I a playboy? I'm stubborn? You dare say that Bailey Ning Bing isn't your daughter? Go to hell. I'm just a strand of my consciousness here. If you die, who's going to chat with you? There's still 1,000 years left. I don't mind dying. Give me control of your body. That won't do. What if you want to do something? What should we do? You're so nice to Tianxi. Why are you so different when it comes to me? Don't I have my own difficulties? Some things can't be avoided just because you want to. Beauties love heroes, but heroes can't resist the charms of beauties. Even if I'm a transcendent mortal, I can't hide my peerless beauty. Pooey, how can you compare to how? In terms of appearance, how is 10 times, no, 100 times better than you. In terms of talent, how is a lot stronger than you. In terms of temperament, how is 10 times stronger than you. In terms of determination, how is 10 times stronger than you. Most importantly, when has how ever been sneaky with Little Snow and the others? What about you? You still have the face to talk to me about how? Alright. Tianxi is stronger than me. But isn't it because you're too extreme? You're always fighting with others. Look at Little Snow and the others. Are they like you? Say it again. But I won't say it again. However, Han Mei, shouldn't you reincarnate again? With your mentality, you still can't sever your Tao. You can't even sever your own. Why are you talking to me? I can't sever my Tao because of you. If you want to reincarnate, then reincarnate yourself. From now on, I will no longer care about you. You can have as many as you want. Cough cough, give me the body, I'm going to find Yun Wei. It's fine. You rest. I'll do it. While I'm at it, I'll absorb some more soul force. A month later, after Chen Hao made several high-profile appearances, he casually found a cave house left behind from ancient times and began to cultivate in seclusion. The core area was vast and constantly changing. It was possible to meet someone by chance, but if one wanted to find someone, it would take too much time. Therefore, Chen Hao only made a few high-profile appearances to spread the news of his return. Moreover, the girls could also be in seclusion, so there was no need to look for them. In the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage, Chen Hao had too many things to consolidate, cultivate, and comprehend. With the numerous elixirs and spiritual fruits provided by Blue Mountain, Chen Hao was confident that he could break through to the heaven's celestial stage. First, I'll refine my magic power to the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. Then, I'll comprehend and cultivate the 3,000 great Daos. Even if they're not my Daos, I can use them as reference and have more trump cards. Phew. There are so many things to consolidate. I'm afraid this seclusion will be the longest seclusion in my life. Chen Hao swallowed a precious ancient spiritual fruit and immersed himself in cultivation. At the same time, Chen Hao communicated with the Tao manifestation's celestial fruit for the first time. Although it hadn't taken root yet, the moment he communicated with it, the heavenly law in the cave house fluctuated violently. Vast universe galaxy, second world, Yang City, East Flow City. Countless cultivators came and went. The Alliance's core square was always crowded, paying attention to the changes in the Pagoda Tablet's ranking list. Although 40 to 50 years had passed in the primitive mystic realm, only a few months had passed in the vast universe galaxy. The ranking list had also undergone a huge change. However, for the past several months, there hadn't been any news sent out from East Flow City's first place Chen Hao and second place Chen Lin, as well as the higher-ranked Long Ting, Chen Xiaobai, Fan Dongxing, and Fan Dongxing, as well as at least a tenth of the cultivators. The same situation was happening in other cities. Mediocre cultivators were fine, but many experts were the same. This situation caused quite a stir in the beginning. However, when the Alliance announced that people might enter the 9 restrictions of celestial ceiling or similar areas, Everyone understood what was going on. It might be the 9 restrictions of celestial sealing. Once it's out, the ranking list will definitely undergo a huge change. Miss must have gained a lot from being with Chen-Lin. That's for sure. Miss is very talented. With a top disciple like Chen-Lin by her side, her gains will naturally be greater. Moreover, there won't be any danger. It's good, but it's a pity that Dong Xing. This is fate. If it weren't for that incident, although Dong Xing might not be as good as Chen-Lin, he wouldn't be much worse. Childhood sweethearts? Shoo. Don't mention this in the future. Let bygones be bygones. If the family head hears about this, we might be scolded. Second World, East Flow City. The cultivators of the Fan family, who were responsible for monitoring the ranking list, were discussing. I don't know what Lil Bing will do, Brother Guan, don't worry. You've already seen through Lil Bing. No matter what, Lil Bing won't kill Chen Hao. Things won't get out of hand. I'm not worried about this. Guan Nanchao shook his head. Then who is Brother Guan? She's with the #1 genius of the Eternal Life sect, Moling Takshu. Based on my understanding of her, she'll definitely use Moling Takshu to deal with Chen Hao. Moling Takshu is one of the top 10 geniuses of the Earth's celestial stage in the sanctum. Maybe there'll be a big problem. That's true. However, it's useless for us to worry. We can only wait and see. In the encampment palace on the Wuji planet, Guan Nanchao and Lu Qingyang were worried after they determined that Chen Hao, Bailey Ningbing, and Moling Takshu had entered the 9 restrictions of celestial sealing or similar holy lands. Everyone was concerned about their own disciples. Similarly, the 4 mad dragons, Chen-Lin, Moling Takshu, Bai Yan, Hu Meinyang, and the others were also looking forward to the amazing performance of their disciples. Moreover, everyone was full of confidence. An area like the 9 restrictions of celestial sealing would block all auras. Even the longevity cards that the sects specially condensed for their disciples would not have any reaction. Whether they were alive or dead, they would only know after they stepped out of the area. Chapter 784. In the abode, the Taoist principles were rolling, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth was raging, and a majestic and terrifying pressure covered the sky. In less than half a year, with the help of many ancient elixirs and spiritual fruits, Chen Hao had refined his true core strength to the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. Moreover, with the Tao manifestation celestial fruit's incredible function, even refining his true core strength allowed Chen Hao to condense the Heaven Way's precepts naturally. The first thing is to fuse the secular sword way, secular heart sutra, solitary sword art, and soul healing techniques use of the soul together. As long as I can do this, my combat power will double. Especially if I encounter an expert with a powerful soul and will. After comprehending the Secular Heart Sutra with Hu Meinyang for more than 20 years, his soul and will had already reached the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. Just by using the soul healing technique's pressure, he could completely suppress an ordinary expert at the initial stage of the Heaven celestial stage. Just like when he helped Lan Feng kill those mysterious clans, there was no suspense at all. But Chen Hao knew clearly that if he encountered a genius with a powerful soul and will, that kind of pressure would be useless. If he could suppress it, he would suppress it. If he couldn't, it would be useless. But if the Secular Heart Sutra, Secular Sword Way, and Solitary Sword Art were completely integrated into the pressure of the soul, it would open up a new world. It was like a simple, unchanging gravity suddenly became a gravity that could be big or small and unpredictable. Even if the highest gravity didn't change, it could catch people off guard. But to do this, it couldn't be done in a short time. Even if Chen Hao's comprehension was high, it was impossible. This was an extremely incredible fusion. Pressure turned into a sword, emotions turned into a sword, and it was driven by the soul. In the world, only Chen Hao would try such a heaven-defying fusion. 8 years passed in the blink of an eye. Chen Hao, who was like an old monk in meditation, meditated bitterly for 8 years and didn't move at all. On the other hand, the pressure emanated from his body was like the 9 transformations of the divine silkworm, and it was profound and unfathomable. Sometimes, the pressure covered the heavens and the earth, and it descended indiscriminately and enveloped the entire abode. Sometimes, the pressure condensed into a small area, and it was like a sword that pierced through the sky and moved about like a bolt of lightning. Sometimes, it was surrounded by dense air and layers of illusions. The fusion was successful. 8 years, in the blink of an eye. It's only the Earth's celestial stage, and I didn't feel anything for 8 years. No wonder powerful cultivators can cultivate in seclusion for hundreds or thousands of years, or even longer. Fortunately, this is the primitive mystic realm. If I was in the vast universe galaxy, I'm afraid I'd become the heartless great Tao in the eyes of my brothers and sisters, right? Chen Hao muttered to himself. Half a year of meditation, to him, was like sleeping. Everyone has their own Tao, their own path. Walking the great Tao alone is the same for everyone. Chen Hao thought of his sisters and brothers, but his heart was calm and tranquil. Soon after, he immersed himself in cultivation again. Soul healing techniques were profound and complicated. Even with Chen Hao's astounding comprehension, he was still only at the peak of the second realm and had yet to break through to the third realm. Of course, Chen Hao did not focus on soul healing techniques. What he needed to do now was to unlock the memories left behind by the extreme Tao mighty figure and find a balance between the two extreme Taos. He needed to merge them and step onto the righteous Tao. Of course, it would be best if he could succeed. If not, then Chen Hao could only temporarily give up the cultivation of the two extreme Taos. Otherwise, he would unknowingly fall into the extreme Taos. Half a year later, Chen Hao opened his eyes and chose to temporarily give up. I don't know where to start at all, let alone merge the two extreme Taos. I'd better find one of the 3,000 great Taos to comprehend first. I already have the foundation of the platinum sky-splitting slash for the great 5 elements art. I'll start from here. Chi. Chen Hao stood upright and set up an extremely powerful restriction in the cave abode with a wave of his hand. He had started cultivating the great 5 elements art. Chen Hao immersed himself in cultivation crazily, breaking through his limits again and again. When he exhausted his energy, essence, and spirit, and could no longer support himself, he would meditate and cultivate quietly. When he recovered to a full state, he would once again activate the great 5 elements art. Time after time of cultivation, Chen Hao had a deeper understanding of the heavenly Tao and the 5 elements. He also took a step forward on his own Tao. This was undoubtedly stepping on the shoulders of his predecessors. Chi. Huff, rumble. Is it over? It's been 60 years. The gate of time and space is finally about to open. The sudden and terrifying tremors of heaven and earth caused the entire space to tremble. Mysterious and dense Tao laws surged, and a vast and terrifying amount of heaven and earth energy converged, causing countless cultivators who were immersed in seclusion to spring up and look up at the void with excited expressions. Rumble. Pa. Lonely as snow, I'm finally about to start a new journey. I'm going to die of boredom. A cave suddenly collapsed, and even the 1,000-foot mountain peak was reduced to flying rubble. A huge figure soared into the sky, exuding the terrifying aura of an ancient divine beast. Wild laughter resounded through heaven and earth like thunder. Coiling Dragon looked up at the sky and stared at the crazily surging Tao laws and heaven and earth energy. Immediately after, Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian, Xia Yuyu, Liang, and Qinling also flew up from the nearby mountain peaks. They already had the inheritances of ancient divine beasts. Long before Chen Hao and Hu Meinyang returned, it was difficult for them to find a worthy opponent. They were all immersed in seclusion cultivation. Lingu, Liang, you don't have the mark of the gate of time and space. Come and join us. Xia Yuyu shouted from afar. But, Chi. In the blink of an eye, everyone gathered together. I also want to go with you. At least I have to see senior brother. What should I do? Coiling Dragon looked at them and said gloomily. When he stepped into the 9 restrictions of immortal sealing, he was not at the same teleportation point as Chen Shui and the others. Therefore, the mark left by the gate of time and space would teleport him to the teleportation point when he entered. Big guy, you want to challenge my big brother, right? Ahem. Little Linga, don't talk nonsense. At most, I'll just spar with senior brother. I'm going to die of boredom. Lonely as snow, I'm a lofty figure. Who can fight with me? But, don't be so smug. Sister-in-law Xiao Wu only needs to use her chaotic divine light to scare you out of your wits. I'll join forces with senior brother to piss you off. Chen Ling said smugly. Over the past few decades, Coiling Dragon, who was addicted to fighting, had provoked and begged everyone to fight with him many times. However, after a few times, he no longer challenged anyone to a fight. He could not enjoy himself to the fullest. Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lien, and Xia Yu were all his senior brother's wives. He could not fight to his heart's content without any scruples. Chen Ling and Li Yang joined forces and appeared and disappeared mysteriously. They did not want to fight with him directly. Chapter 785. Kacha. A majestic mountain suddenly burst out with endless lightning. In an instant, the mountain collapsed and the earth cracked. A graceful figure surrounded by dazzling lightning broke out of the mountain. Electric arcs surrounded her, releasing a destructive pressure. If the lonely coiling dragon sensed this aura at this moment, he would definitely fight. This was because this destructive aura was definitely not inferior to his. It's been 60 years. Chen Shui's beautiful eyes seemed to contain 9 layers of lightning as she stared at the void and muttered. Her blue dress and long hair fluttered in the wind. The surrounding Dao laws gathered, collapsed, gathered again, and collapsed again. She clearly had the might of Humaingyang's innate Dao fetus, but it was extremely contradictory. The resonating Dao laws were destroyed by the electric arcs around her before they could touch her. How? I've finally become strong. Chen Shui, who had once watched Chen Hao fall into a life-and-death situation, did not even have the right to show up and fight. Now, she had finally gotten rid of that serious psychological trauma. She had an unyielding belief in her bones. She was stubborn and eager to be strong. Even if it was the abnormal Chen Hao, she had never truly given in. Because she didn't want to give in. Only by setting her goal higher and further could she keep up with his footsteps. If she admitted defeat in her bones, then she would never be able to catch up to Chen Hao. She could love deeply, but she could not worship him in her bones. That would very likely cause her to lose the right to love him. Dao, her own Dao. On the path forward, she could tremble with fear, respect, and even envy, but she could not worship him. In the cave, Long Ting, who was completely naked and soaking in the spiritual spring, slowly opened her sleepy eyes. She stretched and let out a long yawn. Her full and alluring breasts trembled, and the entire mountain trembled violently with her slight movement. So comfortable, so hungry, hiss. Light flashed, and Long Ting's beautiful and alluring body was immediately dressed. She opened her mouth slightly, and the mountain was suddenly enveloped by endless darkness and disappeared. Ba. Such a big mountain, but it only has so little energy. To think that it's a land of inheritance. I'll be able to see Brother Hao soon. I'll eat you until you're poor. With a flash of light, a silhouette appeared in the void as if it had teleported. In terms of speed alone, it would definitely shock countless experts. Big sister, I wonder how Sister Shui and the others are doing? We have always been the weakest. This time, it should be better, right? It should be better. Our unity has already reached the point where our souls and bodies have completely become one. It's much stronger than the true unity of the 4 berserk dragons. Furthermore, we can shield ourselves from the heavenly secrets. At this moment, the 2 beautiful sisters were the same person. He muttered to himself and answered his own questions. However, as she spoke, the figure gradually split into 2. Huan and Lei appeared separately. Their charming and identical appearances and figures were extremely alluring. Heaven Immortal Realm. Every single one of them had stepped into the heavenly immortal realm and obtained the inheritance of an ancient mighty figure. Moreover, Hellion Woozy relied on her reincarnation memories to select the strongest among the thousands of ancient powerhouses that were most suitable for them. Now's the time. Soundlessly, the cave abode and mountain were not damaged in the slightest. Not a single piece of rubble was left behind, and not even a trace was left behind. However, Chen Hao had passed through the top of the cave and directly appeared in the void. As he sensed the terrifying energy fluctuations and the rolling Tao laws in the heavens and the earth, his eyes flashed with a wisp of excitement. Boom! Boundless and vigorous essence, energy, and spirit suddenly bloomed. Like a sword piercing through the heavens, it shot straight to the 9 heavens. The duration of the space-time gate is enough for me to trigger the heavenly punishment. At this time, the energy of the world is definitely the most abundant and the most active. The heavenly laws are the thickest, the most majestic, and the most complete. The heavenly punishment that I trigger will definitely be stronger, and my benefits will naturally be greater. Come on, Buzz. His already terrifying essence, energy, and spirit suddenly underwent an even more terrifying change at this moment. It was as if it had turned into reality. Boom! Whoosh. In an instant, a hurricane rose and thunder rumbled. The violent shaking of the world due to the arrival of the space-time gate suddenly surged 100 times, 1,000 times, and the world changed colors. 100,000 miles, 1 million miles, 2 million miles, 3 million miles. At this moment, countless cultivators looked in the direction of Chen Hao in horror. What's going on? Within a radius of several million miles, countless cultivators were shocked and confused. When the energy of the world above their heads suddenly flowed into the distance, everyone's eyes almost fell to the ground. Heavenly punishment. Someone is triggering the heavenly punishment at this time? Madman! It's him. It must be him. At the same time, Hu Meinyang, who was several million miles away, stared at the void and murmured with her pupils constricted. Apart from him, who else would be so crazy? Those who can step into the heaven celestial stage have already stepped into it. Those who don't have the ability or dare to trigger the heavenly punishment wouldn't trigger it now. That's courting death. Only Hu Meinyang was quite sure that when she separated from Chen Hao was at the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. After several decades, she believed that with Chen Hao's abnormal talent and the numerous elixirs and treasures he could definitely reach the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage and completely consolidate his cultivation. Triggering the heavenly punishment now was undoubtedly the best way to temper his cultivation. If she were Chen Hao, she would also do such a crazy thing. It's a pity that I'm already a heaven celestial. Hu Meinyang bit her lip and felt a little jealous. I reached the heaven celestial stage to deal with you. My loss. I'll take it back from you. You won't mind if I borrow the heavenly punishment, right? What a cold-hearted guy. Swish. Hu Meinyang suddenly turned into a strand of light and flew away quickly. At this moment, with the shaking of the world, she didn't need to sense the changes in space to find the direction. Crack, crack, rumble, rumble, it's so powerful? After pushing his essence, chi, and spirit to the limit, heavenly thunder rumbled. Thunder and lightning raged and rumbled continuously. Those who did not know what was going on would think that the heavenly punishment had erupted. However, this was only the beginning of the heavenly punishment. Because the gathered energy and heavenly Tao law were too powerful, such an abnormal situation had occurred. The strength of the pressure was several times stronger than Chen Hao's expectation. It was as if God was really angry. This is just the beginning. Is what I'm doing too heaven-defying? Even Chen Hao was shocked at this moment. My God, is this the collapse of the universe? No, I have to go farther. At this moment, the cultivators who happened to be tens of thousands of miles away from Chen Hao wanted to get closer to see who was so crazy. At the same time, they could also learn something from the heavenly punishment. However, as soon as they moved, they were scared silly by the terrifying pressure. How would they dare to get closer? The cultivators who rushed over from afar were also tens of thousands of miles away. Moreover, as the tribulation clouds gathered, the heavenly punishment's pressure became stronger and stronger. The cultivators who were close to the heavenly punishment were so scared that they quickly retreated. Swish, swish, swish. Only a strand of light could be seen approaching from a few million miles away at a terrifying speed. Wherever it passed, the great Tao hummed and the law of heaven rumbled. Hu Mainyang didn't hide her aura at all. She was racing against time to get closer. Many people exclaimed when they sensed her aura. Hu Mainyang, the saintess of the misty rain tower of the human race. After disappearing for decades, she actually appeared when someone triggered the heavenly punishment. Moreover, the aura she released was unimaginably powerful. Hu Mainyang was not dead. A few decades ago, Chen Hao had displayed his prowess in this area, so naturally he had not died. Then, was the person undergoing the heavenly tribulation now Chen Hao? All the cultivators within a radius of millions of miles thought of Chen Hao when they saw Hu Mainyang's figure. It must be Chen Hao undergoing the heavenly tribulation. Hu Mainyang is rushing over. She must be sure that the other party is Chen Hao. Let's go and kill him. The cultivators who didn't know the exact situation of Hu Mainyang and Chen Hao were guessing. However, when they were tens of thousands of miles away, they couldn't get any closer. As for the cultivators of the foreign races, they were afraid that they would be killed by the human race if they didn't hide well enough. None of them dared to show themselves. Even the foreign races who had obtained the inheritance of the ancient Almighty could only endure for now. Because of Ao Tian, the human race had become the true ruler of this space. How can it be so strong? The heavenly punishment hasn't even started yet. How can it be the wrath of the heavens? Hu Mainyang's speed slowed down when she was tens of thousands of miles away. She looked at the endless thunderbolts in the void in shock. She, who had an innate Taoist embryo, was shocked to find that the thunderbolts seemed to have turned into the legendary celestial soldiers. It was a strange phenomenon. Even if the spatial gate has boosted the energy of heaven and earth and the laws of heaven and earth, it shouldn't be so strong. The wrath of the heavens is a phenomenon that only appears when one steps into the Daluo Jingxian. Although this isn't the true wrath of the heavens, with this kind of aura, it's impossible to resist. When Hu Mainyang was close to 20,000 miles away, her speed became slower and slower. Even she felt great pressure from the terrifying aura. What are you doing here? You've comprehended the Red Dust Heart Sutra and want to teach it to me? I don't think you're that kind. Are you trying to borrow my strength? At this moment, Chen Hao's divine will suddenly appeared. That's right. I don't dare to comprehend the 10th level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra for now. I'm only here to temper it with your heavenly punishment. Can I do that? Hu Mainyang looked at Chen Hao from afar. Her expression did not change at all. Of course not. Chen Hao said without hesitation. I won't harm you, and I won't harm you. Why can't I? Besides, if I want to borrow your strength, you can't stop me, right? Then go ahead and try. Boom. Chen Hao's black eyes bloomed with an incomparably powerful fighting spirit, and the true essence around his body instantly surged. Hu Mainyang frowned slightly. Your heavenly punishment already contains the aura of the wrath of the heavens. Even if you resist it, it won't be easy for you to overcome it. Besides, you're no match for me. Don't even think about using me to vent. Even if you want to vent, I'll give you a chance after the heavenly punishment ends. Chapter 786. That's what you said. Chen Hao said, staring at Hu Mainyang. Of course, Hu Mainyang said confidently as she approached Su Quebec, damn it. When I become a heaven celestial, let's see how I'll deal with you. Chen Hao said to himself. Although Chen Hao didn't want to kill Hu Mainyang anymore, he still couldn't let go of the fact that he had almost been raped for more than 20 years. Chen Hao was still brooding over it. Chen Hao never held grudges. He always took his revenge on the spot. He didn't have the strength to face this woman. After decades of secluded cultivation, Chen Hao's fighting spirit rose when he saw Hu Mainyang. However, Hu Mainyang was extremely calm. She didn't care about Chen Hao's provocation. She saw through Chen Hao's purpose and confidently asked Chen Hao to become a heaven celestial. Countless thick thunderbolts finally descended. Each thunderbolt seemed to have formed a legendary heavenly soldier. With the brilliant heavenly might, they descended mightily. Chen Hao, who bore the brunt of the thunderbolts, felt the unimaginably horrible pressure. His dark eyes flashed with a touch of madness. Suddenly, he looked up to the sky and roared. His essence, qi, and spirit surged. However, he didn't use any energy to resist the thunderbolts. At the same time, Hu Mainyang, who was within the range of Chen Hao's thunderbolts, also did the same thing. Rumble! Rumble! The endless thunderbolts seemed to destroy the world. The mountains within a radius of 10,000 miles collapsed and the earth cracked. The area within a radius of 1,000 miles turned into a thunderbolt's purgatory. The cultivators who were tens of thousands of miles away felt their hair stand on end when they sensed the terrible shaking of heaven and earth. What would happen if they were in the core area? It's too horrible. This is only the first stage of the heavenly punishment. If I were in the core area, I'm afraid I would be turned into ashes. Countless cultivators at the Earth celestial stage and the initial stage of the heaven celestial stage were horrified. Fuck. This is too powerful. This was only the first level of heavenly punishment, yet Chen Hao's incomparably strong body actually cracked inch by inch. His soul, state of mind, will, and Tao laws were almost completely detonated. I want to see how strong you are. I can't take it head on. Chen Hao clenched his teeth. Beneath his nearly destroyed body and will, he instantly cleared his mind and used the purgatory of thunder to temper his body and soul. He comprehended the terrifying heavenly might contained within and grasped the heavenly Tao laws. As for Hu Mainyang, who was 100 miles away, she also had a grave expression on her face. At this moment, her graceful and exquisite body was in an even worse state than Chen Hao's. Her entire body was pitch black and cracked, and her image was completely gone. What was even more unexpected to Hu Mainyang was that under the bombardment and pressure of the terrifying thunder and lightning, she was unable to control her essence, energy, and spirit, which she had been suppressing, soared into the sky. Oh no, Chen Hao! I triggered the heavenly punishment. Hu Mainyang couldn't help but exclaim. In the past few decades, she had already reached the peak of the medium stage of the heaven celestial stage. However, she had suppressed herself and didn't trigger the heavenly punishment. For her, who had an innate Taoist embryo and amazing talent and comprehension, leveling up wasn't a problem at all. The key was to tap into her greatest potential in every stage. Therefore, she usually suppressed herself. Only when she reached the peak of the full circle stage would she choose to trigger the heavenly punishment and step into the next stage. Now, because of Chen Hao's heavenly punishment, which was close to the level of a heavenly soldier, it was like a fuse that caused her essence, energy, and spirit to blossom. The heavenly punishment of a small stage was also triggered. What does it have to do with me? Chen Hao, who was suffering from endless thunder and lightning, replied coldly when he heard Hu Mainyang's words. Fine, I can't borrow your glory for nothing. I'll borrow some from you. Hu Mainyang had subconsciously regarded Chen Hao as a friend. Therefore, after triggering the heavenly punishment of a small stage, she couldn't help but say this to Chen Hao. However, she didn't expect Chen Hao to say, "What does it have to do with me?" This made Hu Mainyang very angry. Therefore, without saying anything, she directly activated her energy to temporarily resist the heavenly punishment and rushed toward Chen Hao. Rumble. What's the use of a small heavenly punishment? What's the use of a grain of rice under my great heavenly punishment? Seeing Hu Mainyang suddenly appear beside him, Chen Hao didn't panic at all. Instead, he stared at Hu Mainyang, who had no image at all, and said disdainfully, "Is that so? Then what if we become one? Become one. We've been cultivating together for more than 20 years. Becoming one is no problem. As long as my essence, energy, and spirit are released through you, you should know what will happen. Do you dare? Fuck, do you think I'm afraid of you? Come on." Hu Mainyang didn't talk nonsense. A ray of light shot out from between her eyebrows and connected with Chen Hao's eyebrows. At the same time, she stretched out her hand and held Chen Hao's hand. Using the Secular Heart Sutra as a guide, their souls, minds, and wills merged instantly. Boom! At this moment, Chen Hao felt Hu Mainyang's vast and powerful essence, energy, and spirit gushing into his mind like a river bursting through a dam. Damn, this woman is really powerful. Chen Hao was a little surprised. After dozens of years, Hu Mainyang's cultivation stage had improved from the medium stage of the heaven celestial stage to the peak of the medium stage. However, the essence, energy, and spirit contained in her body and soul were many times more powerful than before. Although Chen Hao was abnormal, he was only at the peak of the later stage of the Earth celestial stage. He couldn't be compared with Hu Mainyang at all. Who are you scolding? I'm just lamenting. Why are you so excited? Chen Hao said stubbornly. He had forgotten that they had merged into one. At this moment, not only were their souls merged, but their consciousnesses were also merged. Only in this way could Chen Hao activate Hu Mainyang's essence, energy, and spirit. If you have the ability, you can resist the heavenly punishment like I did. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Hu Mainyang suddenly imitated Chen Hao's tone. When Chen Hao heard Hu Mainyang's words, he was speechless for a while. He just said I'm your father, but this woman just said I'm your mother. This was simply not in line with her image. If her brainless fans heard this, they would collapse. Buzz. Just as Hu Mainyang's voice fell, her charred and cracked body suddenly trembled at an extremely high frequency. Soon after, complex and mysterious runes appeared on her exposed skin. Using your body as a cauldron to condense Taoist runes on your body. Chen Hao said in surprise. Are you afraid? If you want to defeat me, you might have a little hope when your cultivation stage is similar to mine. Now you can't. Hu Mainyang said in her heart. Then you'd better open your eyes. Let's begin. Boom. Chen Hao took a deep breath and activated Hu Mainyang's essence, energy, and spirit. Then it shot up into the sky. Whoosh! A hurricane appeared. The tribulation clouds suddenly surged violently, gathering the energy of heaven and earth and Taoist runes at a terrifying speed. Kacha! Rumble! At this moment, the endless thunder and lightning became even more frenzied. The prototype of the heavenly weapon shone brightly as it gradually became clearer. It was like a real cultivator. Their faces could be seen clearly. Their aura increased by several times and spread wildly. Chapter 787. At this moment, screams suddenly erupted. The sudden increase in strength caused the surrounding cultivators who had controlled their distance from the center of the heavenly punishment to retreat in horror. The first heavenly punishment ended. The tribulation clouds rolled in the void, and the surrounding tens of thousands of miles were as dark as ink. Only the 10,000 miles of the core area was flashing with lightning, causing the dark night sky to flicker. You want to steal my technique? Don't make it sound so bad. Since you shamelessly said that you wanted to borrow my light and become one with me, that means you're unconditionally opening it for me. I want to comprehend it. What does that have to do with you? I don't believe you can comprehend it. This can only be done by the body of a connate Taoist embryo. Who do you think you are? I can't be bothered with you. Don't disturb my comprehension. Chen Hao took advantage of the gap between the second heavenly punishment and his mind wandered all over Hu Mainyang's body, comprehending the mysterious runes on the surface of her body. Using his own body as a cauldron and using his natal treasure to refine it, how could Chen Hao let go of such a heaven-defying opportunity? As for Hu Mainyang's so-called connate Taoist embryo, he didn't care at all. He believed that his evolving body was definitely not inferior to the connate Taoist embryo. On the other hand, Hu Mainyang's face was flushed red. Their souls were intertwined, and their minds were connected. Chen Hao's divine senses wandered through every inch of her body, making her feel as if she was being watched and caressed. However, she couldn't stop it. Otherwise, their state of unity would be cut off. Chen Hao, this shameless guy, directly integrated into the realm of thoughtless tranquility. In his mind, other than the comprehension of serious and serious, no other thoughts appeared. However, his mind focused on Hu Mainyang's sensitive parts, making her abnormally limp and numb. If not for her strong willpower, her state of mind would have been messed up. Hu Mainyang was sure that Qin Hao was taking revenge on purpose. Crack. Rumble. The second heavenly punishment descended. It was more than 10 times stronger than the first heavenly punishment. At this moment, Hu Mainyang was forcefully resisting the heavenly punishment. The profound and complex runes around her bloomed with resplendent light as they madly devoured the power of thunder to temper her body. This should have been several times more severe than the first level of heavenly punishment. But now, not only was Hu Mainyang's charred skin not severely damaged by this terrifying thunder, it even began to glow with vitality. On the other hand, Qin Hao was in a much more miserable state compared to the first level of heavenly punishment. Now, to Qi. Beneath the endless pressure of heavenly retribution, Qin Hao forcefully endured the endless pain of his soul and body. But as the runes around Hu Mainyang's body began to revolve, a wisp of obsession cut into her like a bolt of lightning. Don't force yourself. The third heavenly punishment will definitely destroy your physical body. Mind your own business. You don't know what's good for you. He can still hold on? As expected, you have the potential of Yi Xian's fleshly body. It's a pity that your cultivation level is too low. With the double heavenly punishment and the addition of my essence, energy, and spirit, you definitely won't be able to resist the fourth level. If I take it head-on, will you give me a strand of your blood essence? Forget about primordial Yin. I'm not interested. Scram. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll kill you. Blood essence. Do you want to bet? If I can't take it, the Tao manifestation, immortal fruit core, and countless Dharma treasures will be yours. Facing the strong woman, Qin Hao could only take a step back and did not continue to tease her. But if you can take it, I'll give you my blood essence. Not to mention one strand, even if it's 10 or 100 strands, can you still become a connate Taoist embryo? What a waste of effort. If I were you, I would obediently comprehend and gain more. Hu Mainyang naturally knew why Qin Hao wanted the blood essence. Just wait and be dumbfounded. Madman, why aren't you defending? You're courting death. Hu Mainyang cursed as she looked at Qin Hao, who no longer resembled a human, in horror. With the two of them as one, Hu Mainyang could clearly sense that Qin Hao's state was definitely on the verge of collapse. However, this guy was stubbornly holding on. Under the terrifying pressure of the heavenly punishment, a strand of obsession was still locked onto her soul and body, maintaining the last bit of consciousness. Even Hu Mainyang, who was at the peak of the middle stage heavenly immortal stage, only had a strand of her mind to pay attention to Qin Hao and warn him. The rest was resisting the terrifying heavenly punishment with all her strength. This was the heavenly punishment that would only appear when one stepped into the Daluo Jingxian. Although it was weak, it still put the two of them in danger. Of course, Hu Mainyang was much better. At least her body was unharmed. She only had to endure the pressure on her soul and the baptism of the heavenly Tao law. Rumble, however, Qin Hao acted as if he was blind and didn't care at all. He was on the verge of collapse. Not only did one of his obsessions lock onto his physical body and soul, preventing him from dying, another obsession was immersed in Hu Mainyang's physical body, constantly trying to comprehend. Finally, the fourth heavenly punishment ended. Lunatic, I've never seen such a competitive person like you. You don't even want your life anymore. Cut the crap and give me the blood essence. I know whether I want my life or not. What are you worried about? Are you feeling sorry for me? I can't be bothered with you. Hu Mainyang turned her face away. However, she opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood essence. How generous. You're actually giving me your blood essence. Qin Hao was slightly surprised. I don't want you to blame me for not having enough blood essence if you fail. If you still insist on the fifth heavenly punishment, I won't collect your corpse. Don't worry. Even if you want to, you won't have the chance. Both of them spoke without thinking. They did not think too much about it. They did not want their souls to be penetrated by the other party's heavenly punishment. Chen Hao opened his completely unrecognizable charred mouth and swallowed Hu Mainyang's essence blood into his body. Hiss! In an instant, the blood essence, which contained endless Tao principles and mysteries, was divided into cells under Chen Hao's control. First, it went to his head, where almost every cell had collapsed. Then it went to his internal organs, dantian, and finally, his limbs. At this time, Hu Mainyang frowned and stared at Chen Hao with bright eyes. Up until now, the shock that Chen Hao had brought to her was completely beyond her imagination. Although she didn't want to admit it, she knew that Chen Hao couldn't have succeeded in secretly learning from her. However, because of the connection between their consciousnesses, she could feel that Chen Hao's divine thoughts wandering around her body seemed to have comprehended something. Now that he had obtained her essence blood, if Chen Hao had done this, perhaps he had a way to achieve the weaponization of the fleshly body without the innate Taoist embryo. However, it was different from her weapon transformation. The fifth heavenly punishment had arrived. As Hu Mainyang comprehended and endured the heavenly punishment, she separated a strand of divine will and nervously paid attention to Chen Hao's condition. She had no choice but to act. Although she did not want to admit it, Hu Mainyang did not want Chen Hao, who had been with her for more than 20 years and had truly saved her, to die under the heavenly punishment. Moreover, in her despair, she had done something that she could not let go of until now. Although it was only the beginning, it was her first time, and she had taken the initiative. Although a holy maiden could not have a Tao companion in her life, she was still a woman. Hu Mainyang, I know what I'm doing. Don't think you're smart. Focus on comprehending your own body and mind. Don't meddle in other people's business. However, what made Hu Mainyang angry was that she hadn't said or done anything. Under the protection of the state of thoughtless tranquility, she hadn't even thought of anything. However, Chen Hao seemed to know what she was thinking and directly warned her. This kind of dog-eat-dog situation made Hu Mainyang want to vomit blood. You think too highly of yourself. Do you think I'm going to meddle in your affairs? You deserve to die. I'm waiting to collect the Tao manifestation immortal fruit core. In anger, Hu Mainyang directly withdrew her last strand of divine consciousness and completely immersed herself in the terrifying heavenly punishment. Crack. Rumble. Condense. Condense. Fuck, don't be so startled. It's like you're moaning in bed, okay? In the terrifying heavenly punishment, although Hu Mainyang was completely immersed in comprehending, her state was still one with Chen Hao. If Chen Hao's soul and mind fluctuated too much, it would directly affect the state of unity. This made Hu Mainyang scream again and again in her mind. However, just as she screamed and thought that Chen Hao was about to die, the state of unity stabilized again. Bastard! Aren't you surprised when you try the state of unity? You condensed it? After Hu Mainyang woke up from her anger, she looked at Chen Hao's pitch-black body in astonishment. The surface of Chen Hao's body was completely devoid of human shape, and there were actually faint golden runes shining on it. They were mysterious and complex, but they were completely different from her runes. However, they were not as powerful as her runes. Of course, they were definitely not as powerful as hers. She used her body as a cauldron and turned it into a weapon. This was completely a gift from the 13 white jade crystal steels of the Misty Rain Pavilion. The runes on the surface of her body were condensed on the white jade crystal steels by the founder's supreme divine ability. Any disciple who comprehended the Red Dust Heart Sutra and refined the white jade crystal steels and had a Khanate Tao embryo would be condensed on their body. This was a body that truly required a Khanate Tao embryo, using your body as a cauldron and a Khanate Tao embryo. That's all there is to it. Chen Hao said proudly. What's there to be proud of when you're so low level? Low level is low level, but I condensed it myself. What about you? I'm talented and lucky. It's also a kind of strength. Now it's also mine. Why can't I? Saintess? I really can't stand it. I wonder what those idiots who are chasing after you will think if they hear this? Don't you find me disgusting? I'm just saying it to you. We're a couple. If you like me, just say it. Although I'm not interested, I don't mind. Bastard. Bitch, you dare to say it? Damn it, I'll let you be proud for a while. When I become a heaven immortal, I'll definitely get back at you. Hu Mainyang finally stopped calling him her mother. Instead, she stared at Chen Hao and said without showing any weakness, I'll be waiting. Immediately, the two of them entered a state of wholehearted comprehension. Rumble, the sixth punishment of heaven descended. At this moment, Chen Hao's body emitted a faint golden light. The runes were activated and his body became a weapon. However, it was a newly formed rune that had not undergone any refinement. Chapter 788. Thunder rumbled and runes flickered. Chen Hao discovered that the pain his body had to endure was not reduced in the slightest compared to when he did not use the runes. Instead, it became even more painful because the runes devoured energy. However, the power required to destroy the body was also greater. In such a situation, it meant that the effects of tempering both the body and the soul had been greatly improved. Rumble. Under the continuous bombardment of thunder, Chen Hao focused all his efforts on tempering and comprehending. Seventh heaven. Eighth heaven. Even though Hu Mainyang had stepped into the middle stage of the heaven immortal stage, she was still unable to bear it. Chen Hao's situation was much worse than hers, but what made Hu Mainyang unable to believe was that Chen Hao had no intention of resisting the heaven's punishment. If I don't resist the ninth heaven, I will be seriously injured. My minor heavenly punishment will not be able to compensate for the damage caused by his great heavenly punishment. When the time comes, if I fight with him, I will. Hu Mainyang thought to herself. But, are you afraid? Chen Hao suddenly said. Hearing Chen Hao's words, Hu Mainyang immediately frowned. Clearly, the terrifying heavenly punishment had made her muddle-headed. She had forgotten that Chen Hao was one with her and could sense her thoughts. Even if I am seriously injured, I can still deal with you. She was still hesitating whether to resist the ninth heaven, but after hearing Chen Hao's words, Hu Mainyang gave up the idea of resisting. After all, resisting the heavenly punishment was much better for tempering and comprehending. In order to defeat Chen Hao, sacrificing the most powerful ninth heaven was not worth the loss. Besides, even if she was seriously injured, the minor heavenly punishment she had triggered had helped her advance to the advanced heaven celestial stage. How could she not be able to deal with Chen Hao, who had just stepped into the heaven celestial stage? Rumble, the ninth heaven's punishment descended. Chen Hao and Hu Mainyang were immersed in the thoughtless tranquility, wholeheartedly tempering and comprehending. The terrifying nine heavens punishment, which seemed to be about to destroy the world, drowned them in almost an instant. Hu Mainyang, whose body was shimmering with complex and mysterious runes, was still fine. However, the low-level runes that Chen Hao had condensed on his body were directly destroyed. They could not withstand the tempering of such violent energy. Condense. Chen Hao, who was about to fall apart, shouted frantically in his mind. The runes had to be condensed again. Otherwise, he would miss this excellent tempering opportunity. After experiencing several lightning punishments, the runes on his body became stronger at an astonishing speed. Although they were still low-level runes, they had begun to evolve under Chen Hao's refinement. Crack. Rumble. Condense again. Condense. Condense for me. Chen Hao was destroyed again and again, but he was reformed again and again. Hu Mainyang, who was wholeheartedly immersed in tempering and comprehending, could sense how dangerous Chen Hao's current state was even though she did not deliberately pay attention. She could say with certainty that at this moment, he was on the verge of turning into ashes at every moment. However, at this moment, Hu Mainyang was no longer worried. She was only surprised. She was surprised by the firmness and confidence of Chen Hao's soul. If he didn't have absolute confidence in himself, how could Chen Hao dare to do this when he was lingering on the edge of life and death? This was a madman, a perverted madman. Even Hu Mainyang was ashamed of her inferiority. Crack. Rumble. As the last wave of lightning disappeared, the void bloomed with dazzling light. Endless energy of heaven and earth and the heavenly Tao poured down like the Milky Way from the nine heavens and directly poured into Chen Hao's body. At the same time, Humaingyang precisely controlled the timing of her minor heavenly punishment and fed it back with energy. Chen Hao's heavy injuries disappeared in an instant. His essence, energy, and spirit were replenished to a frightening degree. He was like an unsheathed sword that could cut through the sky. As for Humaingyang, her body seemed to be in good condition. At the same time, she had also received the minor heavenly punishment. However, her essence, energy, and spirit could not be restored to their peak state in an instant. Moreover, her body was severely injured internally. "What are you doing?" Humaingyang, who had long guessed Chen Hao's intentions, immediately dispelled the state of being one with Chen Hao. At the same time, her figure flashed, wanting to distance herself from Chen Hao. However, she did not expect that the moment she moved, Chen Hao also moved and pulled her back tightly. What shocked Humaingyang even more was that her soul was directly bound by Chen Hao using some unknown method. "I'll take your life while you're sick. You want to kill me?" Humaingyang frowned. "How can that be? I'm just doing what you did to me." Don't be surprised. I realize that even now, I can't fight against you in your peak state. So, I can only take back some interest while you're weak. You dare. Ha. Chen Hao laughed loudly. With a slight force, he pulled Humaingyang, who was imprisoned by his sneak attack, into his arms. Bang! Both of them fell to the ground, pressing Humaingyang under his body. At the same time, Chen Hao activated his soul power again and cut off all the connection between Humaingyang and her body. She could only stare at him, but she could no longer move or speak. "Doesn't it feel good?" Chen Hao's lips curled into a devilish smile. He looked straight at Humaingyang, whose face was red from anger and embarrassment, and said, "That's how I felt back then." As Chen Hao spoke, he kissed Humaingyang's thin, tender lips under her gaze that was about to spit fire. Compared to Humaingyang, who had done this to Chen Hao before, Chen Hao was much more experienced. Not only was it a teasing kiss like a snake coming out of its hole, his large hands even wandered to Humaingyang's holy and towering peaks, and it was directly from under her clothes. This is so satisfying. Too bad it's too late. Otherwise, Chen Hao suddenly separated from Humaingyang's body and rushed into the void. At the same time, he released Humaingyang's seal. "Goodbye, bastard. I'm not done with you. Heaven and earth. When we meet again, you won't have the chance. It feels good. Quite big, quite soft and bouncy. I'm going to kill you." Boom. Humaingyang, whose face was red, suddenly chased after Chen Hao at a terrifying speed. At the same time, she stretched out a huge hand that covered the sky. "It's too late." Chen Hao directly entered the tribulation cloud and disappeared into one of the two miniature space-time gates that formed above the two of them. Soon after, he disappeared without a trace. Humaingyang, who was full of pent-up anger after being teased by Chen Hao, let out a shrill scream. Unfortunately, she could only watch as Chen Hao disappeared into the space-time gate. "Bastard! See how I'll deal with you. Just you wait." Humaingyang knew that the space-time gate didn't have much time left. This was the space-time gate that was formed according to the brand she left when she entered. However, because of the heavenly punishment, it was only formed now. Therefore, she didn't dare to delay. She covered her breasts that had been ravaged and stepped into the gate angrily with a red face. Chapter 789. Hiss, hiss, hiss. In the core area of the faction's ruins, many people walked out of the enormous space-time gate. Whether it was the masters who had reached the heaven celestial stage or those who were still at the earth celestial stage, their auras were several times more powerful than before. When they came out, their faces were filled with excitement. Their eyes and minds quickly scanned the cultivators who had stepped out of the space-time gate to look for their acquaintances. Not yet. The surrounding cultivators stared expectantly at the people who stepped out of the space-time gate. Unfortunately, the space-time gate had been open for such a long time, but they still didn't see the people they wanted to see. After a full hour, the aura of the space-time gate began to weaken. Apparently, it would end soon, and fewer cultivators came out. Countless cultivators who were looking forward to it felt nervous, let alone Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian, Xia Yu, the Flower Sisters, Long Ting, the Seven Women, Han Mei, Yun Wei, Fan Donglu, and Fan Dongxing, as well as Chen Ling and Li Yang, who had come out with Helian Wuzi without the mark of the Gate of Spacetime. Except for Pan Long and Du Jing, all the members of Ao Tian have arrived, except for God of Slaughter Chen Hao. Why hasn't he come out yet? The space-time gate is about to end. Did something happen to God of Slaughter Chen Hao after he disappeared with Hu Meinyang? Some people didn't know that Chen Hao had appeared later. In fact, most people didn't know. The space-time gate, which no longer had any cultivators, suddenly flashed with a wave of fluctuation. A cultivator stepped out of the space-time gate with an extremely excited expression. The moment he stepped out, countless divine thoughts locked onto him. That's awesome! That's awesome! The moment the figure appeared, he said excitedly. Immediately, he looked in the direction of Chen Shui and the others. His expression changed slightly, but he still flew toward Chen Shui and the others. Lan Feng? Chen Shui, Long Ting, the sisters, Fan Dongxing, Fan Donglu, and Yun Wei frowned slightly. Son of Destiny, do you have any treasures to give us? Sensing the powerful aura on Lan Feng's body, Long Ting stepped forward with a smile and stood in front of everyone. Her beautiful eyes were like crescent moons as she spoke in a carefree manner. Yes, sisters-in-law, brothers and sisters, seniors, hello. Lan Feng cupped his fists awkwardly. Everyone was slightly taken aback. After the previous conflict with Lan Feng and the plundering of Lan Feng a few times, the crowd no longer hated him. On the contrary, they were very willing to see him. Every time they saw him, they would profit. However, they did not expect Lan Feng to take the initiative to come over this time. Moreover, the way he addressed the girls was very strange. Since when did he have such a good relationship with us? Boss Chen Hao has saved my life many times. When I, Blue Peak, met him in the core district, I already applied to join Proud Heaven. He approved, taught me some of his ultimate techniques, and helped me take over an ancient legacy site. He should be coming out soon. Are you with my big brother? Hiss. Chen Ling silently approached Lan Feng and asked in pleasant surprise. No, we're not together. It's just that in our area, when the space-time gate started to condense, Boss triggered an extremely terrifying heavenly punishment. The heavenly punishment has just ended, so I think he should be coming out soon. Voila! Lan Feng's words caused an uproar among the cultivators who were watching them. Heavenly punishment. And it's a heavenly punishment of the wrath of the heavens. Boss is too powerful. Wrath of the heavens? The surrounding cultivators were even more shocked at this moment. However, Chen Shui, Tantai Lian, Xia Yu, and the sisters were slightly taken aback. Clearly, the five of them did not know what heavenly punishment of the wrath of the heavens meant. The wrath of the heavens is a phenomenon that only appears when a heavenly immortal cultivator triggers the advancement of the Daluo Jinxian. Lightning takes the form of a legendary heavenly soldier. Its power is extremely terrifying. Helian Wuzi, who had obtained the memories of the endless cycle of reincarnation, explained. Chen Shui and the other girls were shocked. Since the heavenly punishment has ended, he should be coming out. Why hasn't he come out yet? Chen Ling frowned. Everyone looked nervously at the space-time gate that was getting weaker and smaller. When Boss triggered the heavenly punishment, Hu Meinyang went over. It seems like she resisted the heavenly punishment together with Boss. As for the specific situation, because the heavenly punishment's pressure is too strong, I can't get too close, so I'm not too sure. The heavenly punishment needs some time. It should be soon. Hu Meinyang. That woman is very strong. Big brother should be fine, right? Are you sure the heavenly punishment has ended normally? I'm sure I can't be wrong. Don't worry, they didn't fight. It would have been fine if Lan Feng did not say this, but now that he said this, Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian, Xia Yu, and the others frowned. Their expressions were obviously conflicted. If they fought, they were not sure if Chen Hao was a match for Hu Meinyang. After all, when they stepped into the core area, Hu Mainyang had already triggered the heavenly punishment that was at the intermediate heavenly immortal stage. After a few decades, how strong would Hu Mainyang be? However, the fact that they did not fight also made the girls feel conflicted. Everyone hated that woman to the core. Moreover, with Chen Hao's character, even if his opponent was a woman, as long as he was strong enough, he would definitely kill her. Hu Mainyang would definitely kill Chen Hao and take the Dharma treasure of the Tao manifestation celestial fruit, but now, how could she not fight? At this moment, the space-time gate that had shrunk to a radius of 1,000 feet flashed again. Everyone's gazes simultaneously turned over, and the noisy crowd instantly quieted down. A figure appeared before everyone's eyes. God of Slaughter Chen Hao. At this moment, the entire sect ruins was in an uproar. There was a trace of excitement on Chen Hao's handsome face. His slender figure was as straight as a sword, and the aura that naturally emanated from his body gave off an unfathomable feeling. God of Slaughter Chen Hao. God of Slaughter Chen Hao. It was unknown which love-struck woman was the first to scream, but it soon turned into countless excited howls. Hiss, how? Big brother! Big brother! Chen Shui and the others rose into the air one by one, and Chen Hao's figure flashed and went to meet them. Let's go, let's leave this place first. Chen Hao grabbed Chen Shui, who was in front of him. His eyes flashed with excitement as he swept his gaze across everyone's faces. He did not say anything when he saw Lan Feng. Hiss. Then, everyone turned into streaks of flowing light and left at lightning speed. Congratulations on your return, Master. Chen Hao led the group and flew for tens of thousands of miles. After making sure that no one was chasing them, the aircraft that had been hidden in the void suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Little Wisdom One opened the cabin door and said with obvious human emotions in its voice. Everyone did not feel anything. Even Qin Ling and Li Yang had seen it in Chen Hao's memory, but Lan Feng's eyes widened in surprise. At this moment, Lan Feng thought of many things, and he felt that Chen Hao was even more unfathomable. Where are the others? Chen Hao asked with a smile after he led everyone into the aircraft. Master, I asked them to explore the depths of the mine and the spiritual items of heaven and earth first. Ito Tai, Suzaku, and Black Tortoise also followed your instructions and went in together. I set some gathering coordinates in advance. Xiao Ji No. 1 replied. That's good. I'll modify you later. Yes, Master. Xiao Ji No. 1 said excitedly in a mechanical voice. How? What happened after Hu Mainyang chased you? After some small talk, Chen Shui took the lead and asked the question that everyone wanted to know. It's a long story. Chen Hao had already prepared himself and did not hide his thoughts from the girls. Now, with the improvement of his cultivation, state of mind, and experience, especially the breakthrough in the cultivation of the secular sword principle and the secular heart sutra, Chen Hao was no longer the Chen Hao of the past. Even if he faced 7 girls at the same time, he could still be calm. Of course, the most important reason was that he did not think that there was anything between him and Hu Mainyang. As for the 2, intimate contact, one was forced and the other was forced revenge. It was just a means to regain the dignity of a man. Chen Hao felt no guilt in his heart, and he did not owe Hu Mainyang anything. On the contrary, Hu Mainyang owed him a lot. How difficult is it? Tell me, I'm very curious, how did you escape from her? To everyone's surprise, Han Mei Immortal, who seemed to have been reborn, stared at Chen Hao and asked with bright eyes. Master Vili? Chen Hao suddenly looked at Han Mei Immortal in surprise, with shock and horror in his eyes. Just now, when they exchanged greetings, Chen Hao also sensed that Han Mei Immortal's aura had become very strong, but he did not take it to heart. That was because every single one of them had become very strong. And all of them had stepped into the peak of the early stage of the celestial immortal realm. But now, the way Han Mei Immortal looked at him and the invisible aura emitted from her body directly shocked Chen Hao. Master has cultivated for thousands of years, obtained the inheritance of an ancient almighty, broke through the shackles, and stepped into the celestial immortal realm. I accidentally comprehended the Tao, and my state of mind had a fundamental change. I didn't expect you to be able to see this. Han Mei Immortal felt Chen Hao's probing and smiled slightly. On the surface, there was nothing unusual, but in the depths of her heart, she was surprised by Chen Hao's keen perception and understood why Chen Hao could sense her change. Master, you didn't just change a little? Chen Hao said. Although Han Mei Immortal's eyes were very calm and there was no aura released, but the moment Chen Hao met her eyes, he felt a kind of spiritual fluctuation from the depths of his soul, as if it had directly penetrated him. What did this mean? Big brother, Master Han Mei's spiritual altar is very strong, and also a little. At this moment, Li Yang suddenly said, Okay, what do I have to say? At your age, you are really strong. When you reach my age, I'm afraid you will already be Daluo Jingxian. How? You first, everyone is waiting to hear it. Han Mei Immortal interrupted Li Yang and said. Chapter 790. Chen Hao simply spoke of how he had been imprisoned by Hu Mainyang for over 20 years. However, he didn't speak of how Hu Mainyang had forced herself on him or how he had taken his final revenge. Even so, everyone was still shocked and frightened as they heard this. They were scared to death of Hu Mainyang's strength and schemes. It was clear that if they had been the slightest bit careless, their last parting with Chen Hao would have been their last. As Chen Hao was sharing his experiences with everyone, on vast universe galaxy's second world, the entire human race was blown away by the changes in the Pagoda Steel rankings. At the same time, the other 9 galaxies also used different methods to stir up a super earthquake-level sensation. Countless names that were noticed rose up high, and the contribution points ranking had undergone an earth-shaking change. The information recorded in the token began to explode from the names that had been silent for a few months. It was densely packed, and countless people were dumbfounded by it. At the same time, the names of the fallen human cultivators also turned gray. In a short 2 hours, the 10 galaxies were shaken. The most shocking news of vast universe galaxy was that the 4 wild dragons, Moling Takshu, White Cliff, Qin Lin, and dozens of other genius disciples of the temple had perished. What was even more shocking was that these extreme geniuses of humanity had all been killed by human cultivators. Chen Hao and Coiling Dragon were the most dazzling, followed by Proud Heaven's group of women and other unknown individuals. Only Qinling and Li Yang didn't have a human token, thus there wasn't any news about them. Just these news records were enough to stir the cultivators of vast universe galaxy. They were shocked to the extreme. But what left everyone even more stunned was that Chen Hao had risen to the top of the human race in a single move. Moreover, his contribution points were as high as a mountain, leaving everyone in the dust. That was simply unimaginable. The information recorded behind his name constantly changed, and it didn't repeat for 2 hours. Just how massive was this? The magic treasures obtained, the foreign cultivators killed, the combat strength of these foreign cultivators, it was extremely detailed, down to every single battle that Chen Hao had fought. Ranked second in contribution points was Coiling Dragon, followed by Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian, and Xiao Yu's fake names. Then it was Du Jing, Qin Shui, Long Ting, the sisters. Even Pandong Lu and Pandong Xing had reached the top ranks. Although Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei weren't eye-catching, they were still in the upper middle ranks. The information recorded on the tokens was extremely comprehensive. All battles, conflicts, treasures obtained, inheritances, and so on would be recorded. If a human cultivator was killed by a human cultivator, the token of the person who was killed would automatically be transferred to the cultivator who killed the human cultivator. If they were killed by a non-human, their token would be directly transferred to a nearby human. This was a response between tokens, and the information would never be lost. It could be said that this was a complete record of the scene. Normal cultivators could only see information on the Pagoda Steel, which was automatically sent out after the Second World's Cortex Prime had compiled the information. However, the Alliance could use the information sent back to truly recreate every cultivator's experience in the pagoda that reached the level of the record set by the token. This day, for the 10 galaxies, especially for the human race, was destined to shake the entire cultivation world. The forces behind the 4 wild dragons, Bai Yen, Moling Takshu, Chen Lin, and countless other geniuses were furious. They entered the Alliance Center to check the detailed information of their disciples' tokens. It was also on this day that Chen Hao, Coiling Dragon, Chen Shui, Long Ting, Helian Wuzi, and the others became the targets of countless great forces to kill. Celestial Immortals. Originally, there were only a little more than 100,000 people who stepped into the Celestial Immortal realm, but now it has increased to 200,000. The 9 restrictions of Immortal Sealing is indeed the strongest holy land for training. That Chen Hao is too incredible. Not only did he step into the Celestial Immortal realm, but he also killed tens of thousands of foreign race cultivators and countless experts. Moling Takshu and Bai Yen are dead. Bai Yen was personally killed by Chen Hao. It is said that Moling Takshu, the 4 mad dragons, and the others didn't die by Chen Hao's hands, but they were all indirectly killed by Chen Hao. The few top forces have investigated the details. Coiling Dragon killed the most human geniuses, but it is said that it was also because of Chen Hao. That's right. I also heard that, according to the records, Chen Hao is known as the god of slaughter in the 9 restrictions of Immortal Sealing. Moreover, he is the leader of Proud Heaven. The second-ranked Coiling Dragon and the others in front are all members of Proud Heaven. There are also East Flow and East Rise from East Flow City. This is going to be interesting. So many geniuses of great forces have been killed. This has angered everyone. The forces that Chen Hao, Coiling Dragon, and the others belong to are probably going to suffer first. Limitless Star, Ying Star's Long family, and East Flow City's fan family should have been very excited after receiving the news. But now, they could not feel the slightest bit of excitement. This was too crazy. Who could resist the suppression of so many great forces? Especially on a weak planet like Limitless Star. Guan Nanchao, Lu Qingyang, and Chen Hao's eldest senior brother and second senior brother were all in a state of panic. Only the Manhuang tribe, after receiving the news of Coiling Dragon, felt great pressure, but also great satisfaction. And just as Limitless Star, Long family, and the others were worried, the vast universe Saint Palace's Temple Master issued his strongest statement. Before the primitive mystic realm ends, any force that dares to start a civil war will be annihilated. For a moment, all the great forces that were ready to move quieted down. However, under the calm surface, the Wan family of the 4 wild dragons, Bai Yan's Bai family, Moling Takshu's Eternal Life sect, and many other great forces were secretly meeting and forming a powerful force. Undercurrents were surging. All of this was caused by Chen Hao in Proud Heaven. Even more furious than vast universe Saint Palace's Ghost Race, Dark Race, and the rest of the 9 major galaxies. Chen Hao, Coiling Dragon, and the others were directly put on the death list, and the highest level at that. For such a monstrous genius to appear in the human race and kill so many of their cultivators, no galaxy could tolerate this, let alone allow him to grow. For a moment, the spies of the various races in vast universe Saint Palace began to move and lay out their plans. Without a doubt, when the primitive mystic realm ended and Chen Hao and the others came out, it would be the time for them to assassinate Chen Hao and the others, regardless of the cost. In the Heaven Immortal realm, decades or even centuries passed in the blink of an eye. After Chen Hao and the others came out of the 9 restrictions of Immortal Sealing, they began to cultivate as they went deeper into the primitive mystic realm. As for the human race, no one dared to provoke them. Even the United Human Army would greet Chen Hao and the others respectfully when they met them. Chi. In the primitive secret realm, Chen Hao and Tantai Lian were naked as they intertwined in a huge ancient cave in a desolate mountain. Fierce karmic fire seeped out of Tantai Lian's body and completely enveloped Chen Hao and her. On Chen Hao's naked body, runes flashed, and the entire cave was filled with extremely terrifying fluctuations. Hellfire burned the body, killing all evil. The boundless evil thoughts that had been hidden in the depths of Chen Hao's soul were being purified bit by bit. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.